Dude. Let's do this. Hello. I hope you all are doing well. I am very nervous because I have seen some images of the Epstein files already. And shit is very sus already. I also have feelings about the Brown University whole debacle, but I think this is more important. So honestly, it seems like Trump's not in any of these. Like, he's nowhere to be found. Shocking. But his name has been caught a few times. So what I kind of want to do is I want to see kind of what has been put out. I've seen some of the stories, some of the pictures, but the problem with the pictures is majority of them are redacted. And that is definitely really sus. For example, this. Like, I'm sorry. And it says minor victim 3. So that I can understand if it was, but there's like over 100 pages of redaction. Like, it's not just this. And so it's very sus. It's very like, what's going on? I don't really understand. So I think honestly, what I'm noticing is they really focused on Bill Clinton. Bill Clinton is all over the shit. Am I surprised? Absolutely not. But like, look at this. This is an literal, and it's like, I feel like they think we're stupid. Like, redaction page. There's some pictures, redaction, some pictures. Like, I'm sorry. Redaction. Is Trump in all of these? And they're going to say, oh, we have to protect the victims. But like, you've protected them before by just covering their face. Why are you redacting all of this? What is behind this? So that's very sus. Then, so I have everything pulled up. And see, it's literally like this. They don't make it easy. Like, why can't they just put it one file, like, single-handedly? So it seems like a lot, and I really don't want to download this. It seems like a lot of the files. Excuse me, you two. My cats are fighting. They really don't like each other. It seems that there's a lot of like the island and just like regular pictures, but there's also some. So we're going to have to like go through them. And I honestly want to go through them individually because some people may not see things that I've seen. And so my big issue though is I just wish that we had gotten some context. I feel like that's fair. Some context is fair. But this is a room. I don't know where it is. I have no idea. But that, okay. Then I don't know what. See, like some of the, like, is this really worth looking at? No. But I think it's important to see kind of what were these fuckers up to. And the thing that's really kind of like hard. Okay, there's a picture, and Jeffrey Epstein had like a lot of weird art. Let's see if we can zoom in. It's like a Copacabana. Okay. Okay. It just seems like a fruit platter. Nothing special. Usually you're going to see there are naked pictures. But this one's, I mean, maybe something's above here, but I can't see it. So I don't know. But we'll see. Okay. I mean, yet again, the cope, like, it's just like, it's okay. It's nothing special. One thing I have noticed that is really frustrating me is none of the news channels, like CNN, like MSNBC. Well, actually, I've only seen it, BBC and CNN. No one has mentioned Trump's name. No one has mentioned Trump's name. And I feel like if the president of the United States was best friends with Jeffrey Epstein, I feel like that should be something that's kind of significant. I feel like that's something that we should all share. So what I want to do is let's see what their coverage is, because maybe they have mentioned Trump and I've missed it. But what I was seeing, Trump was not mentioned once. Actually, let's go back to the previous pictures. Yesterday, there was some really disturbing pictures regarding Lolita and writing of the quotes written on women's bodies. So I think we should look at that, unfortunately, first. Because it's important to know how sick these fuckers are and how they were protected. They were protected by politicians. They were protected by the highest of highs, higher ups. And it's important we know that.
Democrats on a congressional committee. Tom Bateman reports.
These pictures are among a vast trove of 95,000 that were in Epstein's possession and are now in the hands of a committee of...
So I looked up what the medicine is. That's a UTI medication. I didn't feel so great after
Congress.
I looked that up.
They give a further glimpse into how the wealthy and powerful were in Epstein's orbit. Here again, he is pictured with the film director Woody Allen, former Israeli Prime Minister Ehud Barak,
Shocking.
and standing on the left, the magician David Blaine. This picture shows Epstein with the famous linguist and left-wing activist Noam Chomsky.
Okay, like they were like best fucking buds, and I disavow. I disavow. I'm so upset. Like, come on. The thing that doesn't make sense is like we all know that Epstein is Mossad. Like, it's been very clear. Dropside News actually came out with an article that I want to talk about later on. And it's very clear this motherfucker was not only Mossad, he was also CIA, which that one does not surprise me. You can't, that CIA, I have feelings about the CIA. You can't trust them. And he's spoken out against the CIA. He's spoken out against Israel. He's spoken out against imperialism. And here you are with the worst human trafficker of the 21st century. And I have so many fucking questions for him. And yet he is so fucking old. He probably doesn't even know what's going on. And so he can't even be truly shamed.
Chomsky. And like in the last batch, there are several photos of him with Steve Bannon, a former close advisor to Donald Trump. Bannon interviewed Epstein in 2018. And two pictures show the Microsoft founder Bill Gates with women whose faces are blacked out. It's not known where these were taken or by whom. Mr. Gates and Mr. Chomsky have previously denied any wrongdoing. The other men identified in today's pictures have been approached for comment, and there is no suggestion of any misconduct by the individuals shown in the pictures. Donald Trump has faced growing pressure for transparency, especially given his own former acquaintance with Epstein, and thousands more pages of files in the case are due for release.
I have nothing to do with Jeffrey Epstein. I threw him out of my club many years ago because I thought he was a sick pervert. But I guess I turned out to be right.
We are not going away.
Survivors
You just described yourself.
and their family members want a formal probe into the extent of Epstein's crimes. The former financier was found dead in his prison cell in 2019, awaiting trial on sex trafficking charges. These pictures suggest the scope involved in the alleged procurement. They include images of passports from multiple countries said to be of women Epstein and his associates were recruiting. And this screen grab of a series of text messages appearing to discuss the trafficking for $1,000 of an 18-year-old from Russia. Another photo shows Epstein with 3 women or girls. We don't know their ages and have blurred them to protect their identities. There are also several photos showing...
This is the one. There's so many, and there's more pictures they wrote on her chest too. There's pictures of Lolita quotes. Now, I've never read Lolita, but it's about a professor sexual obsession with his student who's a child. That's like the basis of the story.
Words written onto a woman's body. The lines are quotes from Lolita.
She was low, plain low, in the morning, standing 4 feet 10 in one sock. And then the book Lolita.
A novel about a man's sexual obsession with a child. These latest pictures open the window further into the world of Jeffrey Epstein, but they will not.
Okay, these motherfuckers were literally like showing everyone of the world. I feel like if I was doing a human trafficking ring, I would not be taking as many pictures as this. But at the same time, that's what he did. He was a blackmailer. So I mean, it doesn't surprise me. But like some of these are just like he's like doing like random poses, like he's doing stuff. It's like I have so many questions.
Stop the clamour for more openness. Tom Bateman, BBC News, Washington.
Well, I've been speaking to Dr. Richard Johnson, Senior Lecturer in US Politics and Policy at Queen Mary University of London. And I asked him about what level of transparency we can expect from those files due to be released.
We all know they're not being released. Pam Bondi already said it. They're in a lot of fucking trouble. They will be held in contempt. Rokano made a video about it that I'll show you.
Epstein Files Transparency Act was intended to get the Department of Justice to hand over or release all of the files that it had on Jeffrey Epstein. But the act did carve out some areas of discretion for the Department of Justice. And in politics, where there's discretion, there's a degree of power because there is ambiguity there. And so this pertains to files that relate to the privacy of victims, files that relate to material that would portray child sexual abuse, files that pertain to ongoing federal investigations, and there may also be some claims of executive privilege. And so my expectation is that what we're going to see politically after the release, because I have no inside knowledge as to what's actually in the...
So I want to talk about this. This is a text message, and I think I know this specific person. So the text message says, I don't know, try to send someone else. I have a friend, Scout. She sent me some girls today. Oh, it said she. But she asks 1,000 per girl. I will send you girls now. Maybe someone will be good for Jay. Don't know who Jay is. 18 years old. From Russia. So there is this man named Tigran, and he's a modeling scout. He actually was in he made a documentary actually called, let me pull it up. It's called Model Girl or Girl Model. And it's about Russian girls. And they're 13 years old. And he's in this. Okay. And in one of the Epstein files, Tigran's name is mentioned with Jean-Luc Brunel, who was like the European Epstein, who mysteriously died by suicide in his jail cell the following year as Epstein, when Epstein died mysteriously by suicide in his jail cell. It's very sus. So basically, the modeling industry is a key component in this investigation. And I feel like not enough people are looking at this because there's no way. What's been frustrating, and as someone who has worked with survivors of human trafficking, there is no fucking way that Ghislaine Maxwell was the only top woman. There is no fucking way. There has to be multiple top tier women, especially if you're doing a worldwide organization. Yes, some of the women and the children that they exploited brought friends over to get money. That's very common. But there is always head honchos. Always. Oh, I wasn't even sharing the tab. I apologize. This is Girl Model. I don't. So we can. Here. Why is it not playing? Why is it not playing? There we go. These are some of the girls' children that Epstein was. Sorry. These were some of the girls and women Epstein was personally requesting.
She just maybe never have the body though.
Should be more fat.
Oh, she really? Wow. There's some cute girls though. There's some nice ones.
Wow.
They love skinny girls in Japan. She has a fresh, young face. She looks young, almost like a pubescent girl.
Say hello, Nadia.
Hello, my name is Nadia. I'm 13. Конечно, моделью стать.
I want to become a good model. I'm such a gray mouse, an ordinary country girl. I want something different in my life. So they promise these young girls, you're going to be the next Victoria's Secret model. And that was Epstein's in when Lex Wexner gave him power of attorney and he got Victoria's Secret. So he had such a grip on the modeling industry. You would do anything to get in. And he used immigration visas, holding on to girls' passports as a form of exploitation.
So I look at beauty and I think of young girls. Beautiful.
I'm sorry, that's just weird. That's a weird comment.
Many questions, but don't answer. I don't hear answer. Why?
Okay, so that's the trailer. This is Tigran. And the reason I'm breaking this down is because of this text message. Like, it shows how important the modeling industry was. So this is from literally the documentary. I have searched high and low for this motherfucker. This is the only image I could find. Oh, here we go. I'll replay it because that was very low. Oh, fucking me. I apologize.
I love to travel. I love the trains, especially the toilets. I miss them. I miss this, you know.
The concept of Noah was simple. Just like Noah saved all the animals, I'm trying to save all these young girls. That's what I'm doing. I'm putting them on the plane, sending them to the West, giving them a chance where they can find themselves, develop as women, grow as individuals, and I hope that someday they'll do some good to the other people. So in a way, for me, this is a religious matter. You know,
that's gross.
This is my Bible.
That's disgusting.
Ashley will be my Western partner. We also have problems in the West, and it's also a difficult uphill battle there, but it's a different problem. So together we'll be a great team. The depth of the psychology involved, you know, we go very, very deep with a girl, trying to understand all her problems, trying to understand the parents. And we sort of, at the end, form a profile. And we try to sort of replace those fathers for them and support them any way we can. You know, in certain cities, you must have trustworthy people. So then they can find the girls at much earlier stage and sort of pre-screen them until we get there. This is strategically very important. Before anybody else can get there, we'll have the girls.
That's not fucking creepy at all. And I'm a social worker. And what he's just describing is plain manipulation. It's very common with exploiters. Give them the dream, promise them the dream, then take all their dreams away when they're where you want them. Very common. July 16th, 2010. Subject: some of those girls I invited to Ibiza. This was in the previous dumps. Hello, Jeffrey. A great friend of mine, Olaf, my cat. A great friend of mine rented huge house, and I'm sorry, these guys cannot spell. They can't write, they can't spell. Olaf, you really have to like move. I can't see. A great friend of mine rented huge house in Ibiza, so invited a lots of girls from Russia, all models. Oh my god, this is Olaf. He wants to be it. Say hi. Okay. So invited a lots of girls from Russia, all models, because they will be doing the shootings down there for several magazines with a great scout named Tigran. He used to scout for Trump because Donald Trump had a modeling agency. Epstein has said multiple times that the way he learned how to human traffic was through Donald Trump. And in 2017, literally right when he was about to become president of the United States, his modeling agency shut down. It was forced to shut down for exploitation. But he doesn't work for him anymore. He coming with 12 girls. Okay, literally, can we like have some grammar? Stop, Olaf. I hate when he gets like rowdy. No. Okay. The first week, 22nd of July, then 13 others the second week from the 5th of August. He would like to meet you. Okay, I don't know if that was like blanked or like of space. I can't tell. I just called Jean-Luc Brunel, to see with him if he can come too. That will be great to build this great network for MC2. MC2 was Jean-Luc Brunel's modeling agency. Please let me know if you can come to spend time. Oh, I can't. If you can come to spend some time with us. My best regards. This is now. So the person who wrote that was Daniel Said. His name pops up quite a few times, actually. I've looked into this. I don't know who he is. So this was Jeffrey Epstein's response. Tigran has the best taste next to you. I am happy to meet him. He had a girl named Blank in Paris that he had told many bad things about me. It's just, I don't like. So the modeling agency is so vital, so vital. And so it does not surprise me that I have a friend scout. That does not surprise me. Also, one of the victims literally talks about the modeling industry as a whole in one of her statements. And I've been doing a series on my channel called Down the Rabbit Hole of Jeffrey Epstein. And I've been looking more and more into the modeling industry. And the exploitation is very scary. And they just literally like this in 2024, they just got a law passed for models to be able to have labor laws because they were so impacted. They were not able to do a bunch of things. The modeling agencies were able to take most of their money to leave them to starve. Like it was really, really fucked up. And I'm not going to find it, am I? I might need to look a little later. I'll look while we're listening to the rest of this BBC. Because I really want you to hear from an actual survivor's what they're saying.
Those files, but in terms of the politics that will follow, there will be questions about whether the Department of Justice has truly released all of the files that Congress wants it to release, or whether it has used some of its discretion to hold back files that it otherwise probably should release. It may also make claims on the grounds of national security. That's another
Russian
potential
passport.
area for it to hold back files.
How significant will the release be for victims? And I suppose
Ukrainian
some of that
passport.
what is redacted.
It does really, I think, depend on what's redacted and what's released. The House Oversight Committee has been releasing its own files. I should say the Democrats
Another Ukrainian passport.
on the House Oversight Committee have been releasing files, but those come from the estate of Jeffrey Epstein, which the committee was able to subpoena, and we've been seeing some of the documents and images from those releases come out as recently as yesterday, portray
I've noticed Jeffrey Epstein has a foot fetish, and it's really gross.
some high-profile individuals spending time with Jeffrey Epstein. The images themselves are not indicative of particular wrongdoing, but of course they're associated with someone who is.
Okay, I hate that they're saying this, to be completely honest. If you're associating with Jeffrey Epstein after he was literally tried and convicted for raping a child and trafficking her, then you're a bad person, period. So, like, I hate that they're like, just because you associated with Jeffrey Epstein, that doesn't make you a bad person. It's like, I would disagree.
And we will, in the Department of Justice files, perhaps have a clearer sense of the criminal connections with Jeffrey Epstein, because the DOJ files probably would be more pertinent to
I think this is when they were dating.
Questions of criminality. But this is, I think, what we're also going to see is a back and forth here. There may be some attempts to go to the courts. The courts may say this is a political question, it's non-justiciable, and then it may go back to Congress. And then the question is there will from this Republican Congress?
I don't know if you know, but she's not in a high max security prison right now, which she's supposed to because of the 20 years she got for human trafficking. She's literally in what they call a camp. She is getting to play with puppies, and she's having access to the internet. She's in low max. One of the security guards told a reporter, "I am tired of being her little bitch."
To put additional pressure on a Republican administration to release further files, and that is still an open question.
Donald Trump, though, has given his blessing to this latest release, if blessing is the right word. What inferences do you draw from that?
Ex-Prince, Andrew.
Well, I think he was backed into a corner politically. I mean, this was not...
If you look at this picture, I don't know if I can zoom in. Let's see. Okay. This is as much as I can go. That looks like a passed out woman or child or teenager. And this motherfucker has it just nonchalantly as a framed picture. Just saying. I feel like we're like, the way the media is presenting this, like they're mainstream specifically, they're not like hounding in the fact that he literally is a pedophile who human trafficked women and girls to rich people. Like, hello. Oh, I made it a little too close. Back up.
That he wanted to happen. Back in July, he made it very clear that he wanted this issue to die a death. He wanted
Woody Allen.
The Department of Justice not to release the files.
I like
it was
that they added
due to
this
really
twice.
quite clever maneuvering through a congressional rule called a discharge petition that allowed the Democrats and a small number of Republicans, really a very small number of Republicans, to basically force the issue onto the agenda.
She's a famous model.
And I think his problem politically is that it does somewhat split his MAGA base, where there are quite a lot of people on the MAGA side of politics who have very serious concerns about Jeffrey Epstein and the people associated with Epstein, and they want that information out. But of course, Donald Trump has been pictured with Jeffrey Epstein. We know that he knew.
I really want to know what movie set this was on, and no one has reported it, but that's Woody Allen, and Jeffrey Epstein's just chilling on the set.
Jeffrey Epstein, and so it's very awkward and politically difficult for Donald Trump for the Epstein story to carry on, because he is inescapably tied because of his relationships with Jeffrey Epstein.
Dr. Richard Johnson from the...
So I found the model talking about, so this model was one of Jeffrey Epstein's survivors, okay? She is pretty crucial in what she says here about the modeling industry.
In the year 2000, I was taken to Jeffrey Epstein's island while on a photo shoot in the Caribbean. Who I saw and what I experienced there would change me forever. For months, I had to avoid Jeffrey, but he told me that if I wanted to succeed as a Ford model, he could make it happen. And he was right. He introduced me to Katie Ford and many others in the entertainment business. His grip on the modeling business was undeniable. Not just the Ford family, but Victoria's Secret, Faith Cates, Jean-Luc Brunel, Victoria's Secret. Epstein's reach went to the very top of fashion. He could make a model's career. What I didn't realize then was that once he lured someone like me in, he could also destroy my career if I did not do what he wanted me to do. In New York City, countless young women were abused by him. Everyone in the industry knew, yet he was too powerful to stop. He had friends in all over entertainment and arts, and his value to those friends made him untouchable. But I ask you, why? Who was he to our government that he was allowed to operate openly for decades? Why was he allowed to sponsor visas for young models, using their immigration status as leverage to abuse them?
It's really brave of them. Her name is Lisa Phillips, of the survivors, to speak out. And that's why I thought it's important to show y'all who's affected, how this is destroying people. And I don't know, I feel I've had issues with how the mainstream media is talking about this. Here is another BBC, and I'll just show it.
Welcome to this second hour of the Context USA, and we are hearing that those files being released by the Department of Justice in Washington are actually being published. Let me just tell you that the Department of Justice website is saying that all reasonable efforts have been made to review and redact personal information pertaining to the victims, and that it is being published. So we are just waiting for the details of those files. Hundreds of thousands of documents relating to the late sex offender Jeffrey Epstein.
Yeah, that's right. This is on the Department of Justice's website, and our correspondent, Nomia Iqbal, has been sitting across this all afternoon. She's in our newsroom right now. Nomia, I know these were just released. Give us a sense of what you're looking at.
Yes, so we had to wait in a queue to get into this particular part of the Department of Justice website, and it says Epstein Library. But as Ben outlined there is a privacy notice that comes with it. It's clear that the Department of Justice has been racing against this deadline to get these documents published, because it also says at the end of this privacy note, if there's any information that should not have been posted, please notify us immediately on this email so we can take steps to correct the problem as soon as possible. It's quite clear there's lots of files here, and it's going to take us some time to go through it. We've got teams here in Washington, D.C., as well as in London. If I can just turn my laptop to you. So basically, you've got the Epstein library there, and then at the bottom, you've got court records, DOJ disclosures, Freedom of Information Act, House Committee on Oversight and Government Reform disclosures. And then when you go into that, so if I go into court records, there is a lot of information. It looks like there are indictments in there, which will obviously take some time to go through. And so basically now it's a case of just looking to see what the criminal investigations into Jeffrey Epstein involve, exactly, what tips were given to the public, for example, who was investigating, and all those questions around Jeffrey Epstein. But it will take some time to go through it before we can probably say to you what is very new here.
Yeah, Novia, we actually pulled up the website on our screen for our viewers to look at. It says Epstein Library on the top, and I'm just going to read this notice from this Department of Justice website. It says, in view of the congressional deadline, all reasonable efforts have been made to review and redact personal information pertaining to victims, other private individuals, and protect sensitive materials from disclosure. It goes on to say, that said, because of the volume of information involved, this website may nevertheless contain information that inadvertently includes non-public, personally identifiable information or other sensitive content, to include matters of a sexual nature. Nomia, interesting that clearly we know that in the lead up to today, this deadline, of course, Congress passed this law to compel the Department of Justice to release these files. In the lead up to this deadline, we know there was really scrambling at the Department of Justice to go.
DOJ spent $1 million of taxpayer money to make FBI officials work overtime because they were scrubbing Trump's name.
Go through all these files.
Yes, and there was plenty of criticism, certainly by Democratic lawmakers, that they were essentially trying to cover things up that might make President Trump look bad. Remember, President Trump was close with Jeffrey Epstein once upon a time. There's plenty of videos out there that show that. But Mr. Trump said that he cut ties with him a long time ago in the early 2000s, and there's never been any evidence of wrongdoing. The Republicans deny that. The Department of Justice denies that. They say that they need to carefully go through everything to make sure that that things aren't compromised. And it's, worth reminding, this law that was enacted last month, signed by Donald Trump, the Epstein Files Transparency Act, does say that there are certain conditions in which you have to redact the files, and that includes anything that's personally identifiable in terms of Epstein's victims, any materials that depict child sexual abuse, anything that depicts violent physical abuse, any records that would jeopardize an ongoing federal investigation, or
They could literally, so that's like, it's too fucking broad in my opinion.
any classified documents that the Department of Justice feels must stay secret to protect national defense or foreign policy. So there are reasons for things to be redacted, but Pam Bondi, the Attorney General, has to be very clear on why there are those redactions and I think it will be on everything that we see redacted. We'll go through that. But the redaction, I should add, is temporary. And we'll see exactly what's been redacted. I think there's, like I say, there are certainly those.
I don't think I've ever heard of temporary redactions. I think that's very interesting.
Who are critical of this whole operation. They think that these files should have been out a lot sooner. The Democrats particularly, they will object, I think, to any sort of redactions that are made, because they believe that this has been an administration that has been hugely reluctant to do this, to publish the Epstein files, despite the fact that Donald Trump did say on the campaign trail in 2024 he would release everything. And I suppose he can say that by releasing the files today, and it will be done over a couple of weeks, we understand that he has stuck to that promise.
And Nomi, I mean, we don't, obviously we're still working to see what's going to be in these files. I know you and your team there are are going to be on that as soon as you get the details, and you'll report that for us. But in the meantime, how damaging has all of this saga been for President Trump, do you think? And the splits within, his own MAGA movement over this whole issue of releasing the files?
Well, I think the way he's done this bizarre U-turn on it has confounded lots of his supporters, particularly those in Congress, such as Marjorie Taylor Greene of Georgia, a real firebrand, has supported Donald Trump through thick and thin, has really broken away from him on this one. In fact, he's been pretty angry at her over her insistence that these files be released. Donald Trump campaigned on the promise of releasing them. Once he got into office, he did this U-turn in which he said that there was nothing to see here. There were some files released by the Department of Justice earlier in the year, but Pam Bondi was hugely criticized for not being more transparent and sort of changing course on it. In that Vanity Fair article that's got everyone talking about the Trump administration, Susie Wiles, Donald Trump's chief of staff, very powerful, very influential woman, it said to herself in the article that Pam Bondi had essentially dropped the ball on the Jeffrey Epstein files, and that they hadn't realized just how important these files were.
She knows. I'm pretty sure she knows how important they are.
Now, I do also think this is a huge moment for Donald Trump right now, politically and personally. Like I said, he pushed for years for these files to be released, and he was outmaneuvered in the end by a groundswell of bipartisan lawmakers who basically said we need to pass this law, which he signed December the 19th. And I think also, why do Americans care about this? And there are plenty of Americans out there who do. I think the Epstein case has become this almost byword for government cover-ups, elite protection, systemic failure. And Donald Trump promised that he would release all the files as a way of saying to them that we won't have any cover-ups, we will tell you what's going on. He's the anti-establishment politician, remember. And so that files show, because I think that even if all the files are out there, it might not satisfy everyone.
Nomia, just for anybody who's just joining us here on The Context on BBC News, let's just briefly repeat the situation we're in at the moment, which is a little bit strange because we know that the files, the long-awaited files, have finally begun to be released by the Department of Justice, but we haven't actually got our hands on them yet. We can't see anything at the moment, but it should be any minute now. Is that right?
That's right. So just to remind people, these Epstein files are very different to all the documents that we've been talking about. We were talking about them yesterday, last week. These were documents released by the Oversight Committee, by the Jeffrey Epstein estate by Congress. Okay, so this is different. What these are related to two criminal investigations, these Epstein files, so-called Epstein files, by the US Justice Department. And they have so much information. There's interviews, there's transcripts of victims and witnesses. There are items confiscated from raids on various properties. There are tips from the public. There are indictments that were filed, unfiled. And we should get an insight into exactly what investigators had their hands.
Here's the one thing that's kind of frustrating. I'm trying to find some pictures. I'm trying to make sure that I don't show anything too graphic that I've been looking on Twitter. Why don't they just put it in a folder and so you can just go like this? Maybe that's just me. It's just I hate individual looking things.
And I think people ultimately want answers to lots of questions on why wasn't he charged earlier? What happened around the time that he was found dead in his jail cell in 2019. Remember, there are plenty of people out there who do not believe that Jeffrey Epstein died by suicide. Now, we're not sure yet if this is the first of multiple batches, so we don't know yet exactly, everything about this. And as we were saying before, Ben and Sumi, there's lots of information that will be redacted, anything that relates to active criminal investigations, anything that identifies victims, anything that shows abuse, death or injury, we will not see. But there should be clear explanations with those files about why there has been a redaction.
Okay, so here's some pictures that I've kind of looked, and Bill Clinton was all up in this bitch. And I think that's what pisses me off is like, the Democrats really thought we gave a fuck about Bill Clinton. Like they gave a fuck about Bill Clinton, but like we didn't give a fuck about Bill Clinton. I know I did not give a fuck. So it's really frustrating that like they easily should have just like given, I don't know, they should have just like, hey, let's release some, like slowly trickle out during the campaign, but they were stupid. So here we go. Epstein wearing an IDF shirt. This is not surprising. It's a Hayel. IDF. This is not surprising at all. Jeffrey Epstein alongside Bill Clinton and Mick Jagger. Is Mick Jagger known to be a pedophile? I don't know. I've never heard him to be, so, but I cannot verify. This is Rokana talking about the significance of the DOJ breaking the law.
The Justice Department's document dump this afternoon does not comply with Thomas Massie and my Epstein Transparency Act. They released one document from a New York grand jury of 119 pages, totally blacked out. This despite a federal judge ordering them to release that document. And our law requires them to explain redactions. There's not a single explanation.
I didn't know that. So like, let me just show. I have to show you. This is what we're fucking talking about. Look at this shit. Like, I understand that you have to protect the victims, but this is unacceptable. Like, come on.
Out. This despite a federal judge ordering them to release that document. And our law requires them to explain redactions. There's not a single explanation for why that entire document was redacted. We have not seen the draft indictment that implicates other rich and powerful men who were on Epstein's rape island, who either watched the abuse of young girls or participated in the abuse of young girls and the sex trafficking. The reality is Pam Bondi has obfuscated for months. She first said there were no more documents to be seen. Now she's admitting and releasing hundreds of thousands of documents, but it is an incomplete release with too many redactions. Thomas Massie and I are exploring all options. It can be the impeachment of people at justice, inherent contempt, or referring for prosecution those who are obstructing justice. We will work with the survivors to demand the full release of these files, to demand justice for the Epstein class and accountability.
See, that's how you're supposed to talk about these pedophiles. Like Rape Island. Okay. Bill Clinton. I don't have no idea who this is. But what these shirts are hideous. This is one I wish I never saw. Bill Clinton in the jacuzzi with a victim. And I don't need to see this. Bill Clinton, Ghislaine Maxwell, victim. I'm very curious how people are feeling about this. Bill Clinton, Michael Jackson. I don't know who this is. So it's just like, okay, this one's very interesting. From the Epstein files, Epstein threatening to burn someone's house down if they revealed he stole photos of young girls and sold them and had other photos taken. Okay, so this is a complaint form. Oh, God. Okay, let's see if I can. There's no good. Okay, there we go. Jeffrey Epstein is the subject and alias, character of case, child pornography. It just says, I think that meant to say unsub, but it looks like unpub, so I don't know. Complaint had stated that she is a professional artist and took pictures of her sisters, 12 and 16 years old, for her own personal artwork. Epstein stole the photos and negates and negates and is believed to have sold the pictures to potential buyers. Epstein at one time requested blank to take pictures of young girls at swimming pools. Epstein is now threatening blank that if she tells anyone about the photos, he will burn her house down. What a lovely man. Isn't that in of itself, I feel like should be like disqualification. Just saying. Like that in of itself. I don't get it. Okay. Let's see how CNN's addressing things, because the reason why I think it's important to see how people are addressing it is because the reason why people left mainstream media and is focusing on more independent media, it's because the lack of trust in mainstream media, the lack of transparency in mainstream media. And people are just like fucking sick of it. They're like, I'm done with this shit. So let's see what CNN has to say. I don't know what the fuck happened to her, but since she came to CNN, she's like not, I don't like her. I used to really like her. I don't like her anymore.
By the Justice Department. We are sifting through them now, and we're going to bring you what we find as we and our teams find it throughout this hour. Let's get off the sidelines and head into the arena. My panel is here, and we're joined by CNN crime and justice correspondent Caitlin Polantz and CNN senior White House correspondent Kristen Holmes. Caitlin, first to you. I know that our teams are digging through these files. Is there anything you can tell us so far about what we've learned?
It's called the Epstein Library that's being released by the Justice Department. And Casey, it does include quite a lot of different types of materials about Jeffrey Epstein, some of which is already out there and some of which is very likely to have never seen the light of day before. The categories right now that the Justice Department is saying they're releasing the records on, and they have them all available for the public to view. That includes court records, Freedom of Information releases, some of the things that have already been out there, as well as documents that the House Oversight Committee has obtained and has been releasing, as well as the big part of this, the Justice Department's own disclosures. I'm looking at it now, and it's really extensive. There's multiple pages here. There's a lot of different lists of what's being put out in the public view. Some of that includes Epstein files that are being required by this law to be transparent by today. It looks to me like there are very large files here, data sets of information, and also some things we haven't seen before. Things we have.
There's a lot of Bill Clinton. I'm still waiting for them to mention where's Trump. That's the thing that I think is frustrating. We know Trump was best friends with Jeffrey Epstein for 10 years. Michael Wolff literally has a recording of Jeffrey Epstein saying that him and Trump were best friends. And yet, no one's mentioning that the president of the United States just isn't in the Epstein files. Shocking.
Seen before. Things like video from the Bureau of Prisons from when Jeffrey Epstein was in that facility, as well as audio of Ghislaine Maxwell speaking to the Deputy Attorney General Todd Blanche earlier this year in a taped interview. So all of that is collected. We are going to be looking through it to see what's new. But Casey, I was just reviewing what is already out there. There is a great deal already out there, but what is in this is also likely to be very sensitive. Even just in reading the end of the trial against co-conspirator Ghislaine Maxwell, there is extensive discussion about the victims and how severe these crimes were. Girls as young as 14 being recruited from single family homes largely to become people that Ghislaine Maxwell and Jeffrey Epstein were both grooming through enticing them to be massage therapists or to be the recipients of massages. And there is extensive evidence already out there in the public record as to how great and vast this conspiracy went, how it existed over many, many years. In addition to that, I'm also looking for especially how the Justice Department has handled Epstein and Maxwell.
Are you gonna fucking mention Trump? Like, this is what I'm talking about. You cannot mention the Epstein files without mentioning the fact that Trump ain't fucking in them. And that's shocking.
In the 20-some years of knowing that this conspiracy existed until Maxwell was convicted.
Why is she calling it a conspiracy? I feel like conspiracies are meant to, like, maybe be true, maybe not true. No, this actually happened. Children were raped. Women were raped. I don't understand what the conspiracy is.
Of crimes in 2021, that is something that we haven't seen a full autopsy of. We've seen bits and pieces of it, but seeing exactly how those choices were made, how the internal communications may have played out within the Justice Department to choose not to prosecute Jeffrey Epstein very severely in 2007 or 2008, and then to choose to indict him and Ghislaine Maxwell again in 2019, 2020, 2021. Those are all
who was
things
president
to look for in these records. It's going to be a long night.
Come on.
As the Justice Department has made clear, today is not the only day of this release. There could be many more documents to come for the weeks ahead. Casey?
Weeks indeed. Kristen
I'm getting
Holmes,
annoyed.
to that point, I mean, how has the White House been bracing for this?
The White House doesn't want to talk about this. They have been doing everything they
Why?
can for the
Why?
last several months to try and distance themselves from the story, but it is the story that they just cannot shake.
I wonder
And
why.
now we're looking at day one of what is expected to be a brand new chapter in the entire Epstein saga, now that we have these documents. And this is going to continue for time and time again, because the fact that it will involve President Trump in some way. Now, one of the things I hear from these White House officials.
It took 4 minutes and 24 seconds for someone to mention that Trump's in the Epstein files. Jesus Christ.
They are convinced that there is not going to be some kind of smoking gun in these documents that show President Trump did something illegal. They have argued to me time and time again that if there was something like that in these files, that it would have been brought out a long time ago, particularly under a Democratic administration. However, they are also keenly aware that anything, any document, any part of these files that shows or it reinforces the relationship President Trump had at one time with Jeffrey Epstein is likely to dominate any media coverage. It's going to eclipse anything else that President Trump is trying to do or is actually doing. And they have no appetite for this. And it's President Trump. And that was very clear when he was asked questions or when he was delivering remarks earlier today. And a man who almost always takes questions.
I don't think I've ever seen Trump run so fucking fast out of a room. Like, that man wanted not. I'm surprised that he even talked today, to be honest. I don't know why they had a press conference.
Did this at the end of it.
I really don't want to soil it up by asking questions, even questions that are very fair questions that I'd love to answer. So
I'm sure you will.
I think we have to just stop right here. I don't want to be asking questions having to do with anything else. Thank you very much, everybody.
Thank you about your insurance idea, Mr. President.
That's the fastest you'll ever see him run.
And this is a White House, this is a president who is very aware of what is happening today with regards to the Epstein files being released. So it certainly seems like he did not want to have any part of that when reporters in the room were certainly going to ask questions.
They certainly were. All right, Kristen Holmes, Caitlin Polans, I think you'll likely be standing by for us as we sift through all of this, but I do appreciate your reporting here off the top. Ellie Honig is with us from New York as well. He's our senior legal analyst. Ellie, can you remind us how we got here? And I actually, I'd like to.
I just saw the first Chris Tucker picture and my heart broke. Chris Tucker, Rush Hour 1 and 2 and 3 are like some of my favorite movies of all time. And this is just so heartbreaking for me that Chris Tucker was such a pedophile.
To kind of set you up with what Ro Khanna, one of the congressmen on the House Oversight Committee, had to say today about what we may see here. Obviously, they have been going through these documents to redact sensitive information about victims and other things. Let me show you what Khanna said, and we'll talk about it on the other side. Take a look.
anyone who tampers with these documents or conceals documents or engages in excessive redaction will be prosecuted because of obstruction of justice. We will prosecute individuals regardless of whether they're the attorney general or a career or political appointee.
Ellie, can I just get you to, give us your legal expertise on what that could mean?
Sure. So we're here, Casey, because Congress passed a law, overwhelming margin, 427-1 in the House, unanimous in the Senate, signed by Donald Trump 30 days ago. That law gave the Justice Department 30 days to turn over, and I quote the law, all of DOJ's documents relating to the investigations and prosecutions of Jeffrey Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell. Now, the law does have some exceptions in it. It allows DOJ to withhold documents if they relate to victim identities, if they relate to ongoing criminal investigations, or if they might undercut our national security or our foreign diplomacy. Now, as to Representative Khanna's point there, it would be obstruction of justice if somebody, for example, destroyed evidence or altered it or tampered with it
I truly think
intentionally.
these fuckers
There's no
don't care.
evidence any of that has happened at this point. So
They spent $1 million on overtime. Are you fucking kidding me? $1 million on. You don't just randomly spend $1 million of taxpayer funds for nothing.
I think he's thinking sort of speculatively and into the future. So at this point, they've made the first production. That's the link that's now available that Caitlin Polance and others are going through. But again, important to note, the Deputy Attorney General this morning, Todd Blanche, said this is actually not the whole production. He said this will be hundreds of thousands of pages, and we will continue to produce more over the coming weeks. Technically, that's not what the law says. The law says all the documents today, but DOJ apparently has just not been able to do that.
No, they just
remarkable. Ellie, stand by for me. I want to
refuse.
go back to Caitlin Polance because she has been poring over these documents as we have been talking. And Caitlin, I understand you're seeing some photographs as part of this. I don't think we're prepared yet to show them to our audiences. We're working on that, but please do tell us what you've learned.
Yeah, and we're also going to be cautious about describing what's in the photographs as we're seeing them, given the sensitivities, so many sensitivities around this issue. But what I can say here is in the data sets that are being put out by the Justice Department, there are many, many photos. And they are stripped of context. They are just images.
Shocking.
Many of them do show Jeffrey Epstein. Of course, they would be from the files around him. There are also images of Ghislaine Maxwell. But this is the sort of thing that people will be clicking on, seeing, that you'll see around as people go photo by photo. I mean, some of these, there's clearly hundreds of them. They're posted in dozens of pages of data on the Justice Department website, and they don't say where they're from, why they were taken, where the location of the photos are. So a lot of those context clues, that's a sort of
I think that's a good point. Where things were taken, because we have Rape Island, we have Miami, and we have New York. And then when they went out abroad. So I think that's important context. I completely agree.
And questions that we'll need to follow up on in understanding what the meaning of these photos might be. But it's not just photos. There are other documents as well. Some of them, like I mentioned before, are going to be the sorts of things we've seen already out in the public sphere. A lot of the audio tape and the documents around Ghislaine Maxwell speaking with Todd Blanche while she is serving her time in federal prison. Some of the documents of the communications from the attorney.
Right there. She's not just serving time in federal prison. This bitch is literally in a low max facility. Like, this is where you have to tell the people. She's in a low max facility. She can get as much toilet paper as she wants. And that's very, very important in jail. So you can like trade. And she has her own room. She's able to access the internet. And she's able to have visitors whenever she wants. And they come through a separate exit and entrance. And it's not recorded. I feel like that's very important for the for everyone to know. So just saying, oh, she's in federal prison. No, she's not just in federal prison. She's in Lomax. She's where they put the reality TV stars. Like, that's Lomax.
Attorney General saying that she wants to have a release of the documents, something that has dogged the Justice Department over many months this year. But there is data here, and it does appear that there is information that's coming out from the Justice Department that is new. Exactly what that is, we're going to report and look very closely at what it is. But there's a lot here, and it's accessible to the public.
Okay.
Joining us now, Marina Lacerda. She provided.
I have more pictures. So I'm saying it to mentally prepare anyone, because even though I used to do this for a living, I still feel really gross that these men literally got away with fucking everything. I have so much questions about the Pope. Pope John Paul II. But, like, who is that? Is that Epstein? I have questions. Okay. But I broke everything down because I think it's really... I've just been bookmarking things because it's just easier. Okay. So this one, pictured Andrew Mountbatten Windsor, formerly Prince Andrew, seen lying upon the laps of 4 unidentified girls, and Ghislaine Maxwell. God, the royal... I wonder how England reacted properly, actually. He was revoked from his title. He was kicked out of his home. He was disavowed. They actually got their shit together, unlike us. This one's really... I don't know if you're going to be able to see it. It's very creepy. This is a child right here. And that's Jeffrey Epstein holding the child, like, on his shoulders. The child is blonde. That's all I can see. So that's really creepy. This one, if you don't follow Murtaz Hussein, do it. He's fucking incredible. Okay, leaked emails from Epstein. Oh, they have Dropbox. Oh my God, I'll use that instead. Thank God. This is why I rely on independent media. Leaked emails from Epstein's inbox show close ties between him and Maxwell with senior Clinton Foundation officials, including buying expensive watches for Foundation officials. It was later feared that Hillary's 2008 run would bring heat to the issue. Okay. Let's see. I don't understand why I can't zoom in. Like, what are we doing? I wonder... I'm just going to save it. We're doing it this way because I can't read that. Might as well. Oh, okay. There we go. Much better. Okay. Stop moving. Oh, I can't scroll. Okay. So let's start with the bottom. It's from Doug Band. I don't know who that is. Let's see if I can make it. Any news on the Automir's watch? I have no idea what kind of watch that is. If it's because he wants to buy... Okay. More concerned about lunch from Doug to Ghislaine. Why do you ask? If it's for you, I'll tell you. If it's because he wants to buy me one, then no can do. Doug. No. I don't... The way the emails are, that fucks me up. I don't know why. Okay. Ghislaine. Tell me, please. It is for me in a way. What lunch? Doug Band. Why are they emailing in 2005? Is that a thing? Anyways, he said, you and me. And she said, ready to the bottom. I think he wants me to get a secondhand one. Tell me what to do. What does that mean? I don't know what that means. That could mean anything. That could literally mean anything. The thing with this is that, like, they spoke in code, but they didn't really speak in code, you know? This one you can see a little better. This is from Jeffrey Epstein to Ghislaine Maxwell. Okay, she said, bought the watch for Doug for $35, wiring the money today. I can imagine it was not $35. I'm guessing 35 G's. Good. Make sure he gets it for Christmas. Maxwell. As soon as the money clears, they will let me pick. He couldn't even. I think Epstein was dyslexic. I really do. Just how I've seen him write. Pick it up. And hopefully we'll get it in time to get it to him. What do you want the note to say? Is it from you, from me, from us? Also spoke to Summers' office, as in Larry Summers, I'm guessing. Recharter flight to Jamaica, which is organized. And she just responds us. I do like when they post the emails because it's a lot more helpful. So this has already been a known thing. I've never seen it though, but it's Clinton wearing a dress and high heels. I could have went my entire life without looking at this. My entire life. Okay, this one. Epstein flight logs. Donald Trump, Marla, I'm guessing that's his wife, one of his wives that died. Tiffany, Mark Middleton, nanny. Okay. It doesn't say the date though. This, I think, has to be one of the most disturbing things that we've seen so far. This is how to give a child, a baby, a massage. Like, this is why I'm saying, like, these people are fucking monsters. Like, you should not have this. Why do you have this? This is disgusting. It's just, well, I don't think we'll ever know how many people this man harmed and spread that harm. I don't think we'll ever know. And this one was next. That's literally a child, and they're wearing shoes, but that's a child. That's a child. Epstein. Since when did he have tribal tattoos? I didn't know that was thing. But like child. That's it. That's child. Bill, honestly, Hillary should have done what Melinda did and divorced Bill. Bill. They're both named Bill. That's one of the main reasons. Oh my God, I don't feel good. This is gross. That's a child. I'm pretty sure that Jeffrey Epstein's holding. Another survivor. This fucker. They couldn't have taken a better picture. Like, what the fuck are we doing, FBI? I'm guessing the Lolita, Epstein. That's a child. That is a child. He's holding a child. He's holding a child. Okay, maybe he's not, but that really looks like a child's arm. Okay, this is, it says above, Sarah Ferguson, former Duchess of York in the Epstein files. That's her. Was she a known associate? Let's see. Sarah Ferguson. Sarah Ferguson, and I'm associate of Epstein. Because I know he was hanging out with the Norwegian heiress, but oh, okay. So according to Le Google, in the years following her divorce, Ferguson was the subject of various scandals that affected her relationship with the royal family. Her friendship with the American sex offender Jeffrey Epstein led to the termination of her roles as patron and spokesperson for multiple charities. See, I really like when people hold people accountable. Let's keep doing that. I appreciate that. Let's keep holding people accountable. That apparently just doesn't happen in this fucking country. This is Trump. So remember how Epstein said there was a Epstein email saying that he sold a woman to Donald Trump? Here it is. Once in a blue moon. Once in they also, all it says is once in a blue moon. That's Trump's name. That's Trump's name. Why does the president of the United States have his name on a check after? I have questions. I can't. I mean, this motherfucker was everywhere. Did he do anything? Did he do anything? Okay, Ryan Grimm, another incredible source. Email from Maxwell to Epstein saying she met a, quote, CIA operative who offered to help her learn more about what her dad did. Now, there has always been speculation that Ghislaine Maxwell's dad was Mossad. And it's always been a thing, but never confirmed. But his story is too long to go into right now. An email obtained from Epstein's Yahoo inbox dated October 15th, 2005, suggests Ghislaine Maxwell, Quebec, was trying to purchase information about her father's missing fortune from a CIA cooperative. Her father was he owned a bunch of papers. He was like, I keep saying Robert Kraft, but it wasn't Robert Kraft, but he owned the guy that owns Fox News. That was her dad, but in England. That's how big her dad was. Maxwell emailed Epstein excitedly while visiting Bhutan for the wedding of Princess Chimi Yangzom Wangchuk. She wrote Epstein, the wedding was amazing. Also was at CIA operative who said that he, quote, worked with dad. I was so shocked. He said he could tell all, find all, and reveal all for a price. When was this written? There's no timestamp. Damn it. They usually leave the timestamp, so I'm surprised. Well, the DOJ probably fucked it up, so I'm not surprised. This one's interesting. That's Bill Clinton and Epstein. To be honest, they look like lovers. You can't fucking question that. They look like lovers. They look like lovers. Bill's looking at him cutely and has his arm on him. Like, I'm sorry, they look like fucking lovers. Maybe they were. I don't know. I have no idea who this is. she, I, this one broke my heart. I just don't understand. It's not worth it. It's not worth it. Ah. Winnie the Pooh. I don't know who this person is. And it seems like no one does at this time. This one's kind of freaky. Memo from November 4th. No, November 8th of 04. I think they read that wrong. At 1:15 p.m. I have a female for him. They just write whatever the fuck they want. My gosh. Oh, okay. I went through those. So let's see what. Let me see. Actually, let's see what drop site has because I think it's really important. Okay. So drop site news came out with 2 stories today. Incredible reporting. And I think what's really significant is that they're literally doing the only type of reporting and no one else seems to be doing as well in-depth reporting as them. So if you're able to, please subscribe to Dropsite. They're incredible. Epstein and the Clintons. As Hillary launched presidential campaign, Epstein feared exposure. Oh, this was her first. I was like, he wasn't afraid when Trump was running. I don't understand. It's because this was his first. Okay. Leaked emails shows Ghislaine Maxwell traveled to a South Indian village with Bill Clinton in 2006. While Epstein lavished gifts on a senior Clinton aide after Clinton supposedly cut ties. Okay. Oh my God. Since Jeffrey Epstein's second arrest in 2019, the Clintons have spent considerable effort distancing. I don't know why Hillary just didn't divorce the fucker. Themselves from the I can't say that name. Financer, and they are currently feeding off House Oversight Committee Chair House James Comer, who threatened contempt proceedings after the political power couple refused to testify this week regarding their relationship to Epstein. I'm not going to lie, like I would love to have seen that. 100%. And then all of a sudden you hear Nancy Mace, you were the one that had the Russia hoax, and they just completely flip it. That'd been funny. Epstein first came into public view after accompanying former President Bill Clinton on a 2002 tour of Africa aboard Epstein's infamous Boeing 717 plane, later dubbed Lolita Express. Honestly, if I was Boeing, I would just like forever not sell that plane. Like I would just no one's gonna go on the Boeing 727. Abundant photos from that Africa trip with Kevin Spacey and Chris Tucker have just been released by the Justice Department. Through a spokesperson, Bill Clinton has acknowledged traveling on Epstein's jet during a humanitarian tour of Africa in 2002. But he has said he knew nothing of Epstein's crimes, never visited Epstein's properties. And Susie Wiles, Trump's chief of staff, literally said Clinton has never visited Epstein Island. So, cooperation. And ended contact in 2005. Okay, but like, did he actually end contact or is he just saying that? Kind of like Trump. In a Justice Department interview in July 2025, Ghislaine Maxwell downplayed Epstein's connection to the former president, telling Deputy Attorney General Todd Blanche, President Clinton was my friend, not Epstein's friend. Okay, but you and Epstein were buddies. Like the fuck? Yet as Hillary Clinton's 2008 presidential campaign ramped up, it was Epstein looking to duck the Clintons. Epstein was facing increasingly dire legal consequences in South Florida. This is exactly where Acosta fucked everything up. Stemming from his years-long sexual exploitation of young women and girls. The glare of a presidential campaign risked unraveling what Epstein and his friends and ally Ghislaine Maxwell had so effectively constructed over the years, as they were increasingly associated with the spectacle of Clinton World. Okay, I don't need a close-up of that one. I don't know who this guy is. Does it say? No, it doesn't say. In May 2007, the news media drove a scandal around the relationship between Hillary Clinton and Vinod Gupta, an Indian technology executive accused of corrupt dealings with the Clintons related to inflated consulting fees and travel on his company jet. That's what was the... I'm sorry, but the fact that was appalling, and we have Donald fucking Trump literally getting a $400 billion, $1 million jet from the Saudis. Yeah. Crimea River. Like, I'm sorry, that's fucking nothing. In May of 26 email, that I didn't say that correctly. In May 26 email, 4 months before signing his sweetheart deal to avoid federal sex trafficking charges, Epstein predicted to Maxwell the Clintons' opponent would attack her friends in any way they can. And he warned her that Clinton's presidential run could bring unwanted attention to Maxwell. He wrote to Maxwell, "You can see the papers are starting on Hillary friends than Gupta." He wrote, adding, "I think you are better off not having your name associated." And so this is it. Epstein's lawyers claim he was part of the original group that created the Clinton Global Initiative, a cornerstone of Bill Clinton's post-presidential life where world leaders met to address major issues like climate change and global health. That sounds fucking stupid. Like, do something, build a school in Africa. Like, what are we doing? Leaked messages from Epstein's Yahoo email suggest Maxwell and Epstein's relationship with the Clintons world was closer than the Clintons have publicly acknowledged. The new email cache was vetted and published by Distributed Denial of Secrets and contains many of the same forensic signatures as the dataset reported by Bloomberg earlier this year. In messages spanning 2005 through 2007, Maxwell and Epstein coordinated directly with Clinton's foundation personnel, met with the members of the Clintons' inner circle, and gave expensive gifts to senior Clinton aide. I don't understand. I thought we weren't supposed to get their attention. I'm very confused. What? I don't understand. Okay. The email cache was vetted, but with Democrats out of the White House and positioning for the 2008 presidential cycle, the Clinton Foundation served as a parallel influence network that blended philanthropy and unofficial foreign policy engagement. Hillary Clinton would lose to Barack Obama in the primary, but her global expertise would be parlayed into a position as Secretary of State. Yeah, look how Libya's doing. Oops. Bill Clinton, oh my gosh, go. Bill Clinton traveled to Mumbai and New Delhi between November 29th and December 1st, 2006, to meet with the Prime Minister Manmohan Singh and attended events tied to United Nations and Clinton Foundation work. On November 30th, 2006, Maxwell emailed Epstein to inform him she was in Mumbai and met up with Clinton, and Clinton linked usual suspects, including Sandy Berger, a senior former Clinton national security guard, Doug Band. Remember I was talking about Doug Band? That was one of the Epstein emails about the watch. A longtime Clinton aide and central architect of CGI. Okay, come back. And Eric Nonax, a foreign policy staffer in Clinton's office. Okay. Let's zoom out. Okay. This is what she says. Maxwell. Am now in Mumbai in the South India. Did she so happen to just be there? Like, I'm just going to go to Mumbai today. Met up Clinton, usual suspects. Okay. Just staff, hit a wall, yes. Got to hotel and fell asleep in less than a second. Going to a tsunami village today. And then Thailand, kisses G. Epstein, glad you're safe. Got one of those huge military beater helicopters designed to do parachute drops. Smelt of fuel. Your brain rattles in your head, but fun. At a tsunami zone. So wild, G. So this is her undated, so we don't know when this took place. Okay. Doug Band in 20. Okay. Beep beep. I have to Google how to like zoom in, but this is all I know right now. In 2020 interview with Vanity Fair, Doug Band, a loyal Clinton fixer for nearly 2 decades, claimed he had been trying to push Epstein out of Clinton's orbit ever since their famous 2002 tour of Africa on Epstein's plane. Band said he got, quote, bad vibes from Epstein and advised Clinton to end the relationship in 2002. Band also claimed to have tried to break up Ghislaine Maxwell's friendship with Chelsea Clinton, with whom he had a frosty rivalry, but advising Bill Clinton's office to ban Maxwell from all Clinton-related events. Ghislaine Maxwell was at Chelsea Clinton's wedding. Like, they were tight. They were wicked tight. What gets me is, like, everything was right there. Like, everything was right fucking there. The emails obtained by drop sites show that Band, despite his proclaimed protestations, I don't know what that word means, remained on good terms with both Maxwell and Epstein for at least a few years after the Africa trip. Band did not respond to a request for comment. On December 10, 2005, Maxwell informed Epstein that Band was interested in Epstein's Audemars Piguet watch, a luxury brand with 5 to 6 figure price tags. She wrote, okay, we read this. She just emailed, it costs 30. It'll be from us. 5 days later, Maxwell followed up with Band. Any news on the Audemars watch? Same thing we read. And then Maxwell forwarded the thread to Epstein and guessed about Band's intentions, writing, I think he wants me to get a second-hand one. Tell me what to do. Epstein pressed her to follow through. Have him tell you. Those always confused me. I could never. I could never. A week later, on December 21st, 2005, Maxwell reported that she'd purchased the watch for Band for $35,000. I fucking knew it. Epstein messaged back, good, make sure he gets it for Christmas. Okay, we already read that. In April 2006, Band, a University of Florida graduate, asked to use Maxwell's plane for a last-minute trip to Indianapolis to watch his team play in the NCAA men's basketball finals. Commercial flights were unavailable, he wrote. Quote, you still have Air Force GMAX? After getting Epstein's approval, Maxwell offered a free round trip on her, quote, flight options plane, a Beechjet 400 owned by Air Ghislaine Inc. Wait, why does she need approval from Epstein? I don't understand. Band declined, saying he had already reserved a Learjet. Epstein was still eager to do a favor for Band, advising Maxwell, you should pay, at least offer. The Gators won. Okay, but like, which flight did he take? Did he take their flight, or did they pay? Ban did not respond to a request for comment. Maxwell has previously denied any connection to Air Ghislaine Inc., and her lawyer told the Justice Department in July the company had nothing to do with her. Okay, her name is very unique. So it just happens that a company, an air company, I don't get it. I don't get it. The Clinton Foundation. Epstein was far from frozen out of the Clinton Foundation for years after 2002 Africa trip with Bill Clinton. In January 2006, Tasha Alvarez, Assistant Director of Foreign Policy at the Clinton Foundation, contacted Epstein's lawyer, Darren Indyke, to request a meeting between Epstein and two Rwandan students he was supporting at the City College of New York. Alvarez followed up several times to schedule the meeting, but Epstein repeatedly postponed it. That's very odd. Why did she do that? I don't know. I mean, Maxwell's name was perceived to hold some cachet in Clinton's world. In February 2006, Maxwell received a request for a reference letter for an internship with Clinton. The person who made the request wrote, "I'm sure it would speak loudly coming from you." Maxwell asked Epstein's permission before agreeing. It's really wild that she has to ask him for permission for everything. Like, oh God. That year, Epstein donated $25,000 to the Clinton Foundation. Before Epstein's crimes became known to the public, Bill Clinton seemed to consider Epstein a good friend. They were in what? In 2003, he penned a handwritten note in Epstein's 50th birthday book celebrating their friendship. His was the only sane one in the birthday book. Like, not even Trump's was sane. Okay. And then let's see the other one. I'm sorry. That's front page. This one. Epstein, Israel, and the CIA, how the Iran-Contra planes landed at Les Wexner's base. Jeffrey Epstein helped Leslie Wexner repurpose the CIA's Iran-Contra planes from arms smuggling to shipping lingerie. Let's see who was the Iran-Contra and how fucking terrible they were. Because I don't think people truly understand how bad it was. Okay, I'm not finding the right thing. Trying to look for a good video. But they're like long, and the Iran-Contra's like, but I do think it's important to note because the fact that Epstein was involved is very sus. The fact that Epstein was anywhere near this proves that he had to have been working with the CIA, because there's no fucking way. There's no way that this would have flown, like, been okay. We'll just do this one. I know it's a little loud, so I'll lower it a little. If I need to change the volume, let me know.
Iran is at a crossroads. After decades of interference by foreign powers eager to exploit its oil reserves, the government decides it will throw them out and take control of the country's wealth. But with the superpowers' Cold War paranoia and thirst for oil, it won't be easy, especially once the CIA gets involved. By the early 1950s, Iran has experienced decades of upheaval. In 1921, Reza Shah Pahlavi comes to power in a British-supported coup and begins a program of modernizing and westernizing the country on the Turkish
and the United States, let's be real,
model, while at the same time resisting British and Soviet influence. He also renews agreements with the Anglo-Iranian Oil Company that give the British state-controlled firm preferential access to Iran's oil for extraction and sale. The Second World War brings dramatic changes. In 1941, British and Soviet troops invade neutral Iran to get control over its oil, prevent German influence, and open a route for military aid to the USSR. They exile Reza Shah and replace him with his son, Mohammad Reza Pahlavi, who takes the royal title of Shah. The Soviets also try to muscle their way into Iranian oil in 1944, but they fail. Iran's new ruler faces a host of problems during and after the war. He's unpopular, not least because he represses nomadic tribes, confiscates privately owned land for himself, and fails to meet citizens' expectations of a better quality of life. Many Iranians are unhappy with foreign occupation and poverty, and even after the British and Soviet troops leave in 1946, that its oil reserves are controlled by foreign oil companies who don't.
It's almost like this is the same fucking thing as Venezuela.
Share revenue fairly. Many of the Shah's critics want to use oil revenue to restore Iran's full sovereignty and modernize the country. And the question of who will control Iranian oil sets the stage for a major crisis in the early 1950s. Some parties support the Shah's position, who want stability and to continue to benefit from the oil deal with the British. The large communist Tudeh party wants the Soviet Union to have some control. The Islamist terrorist movement Fadayin-e-Islam opposes foreign control, wants a theocracy, and assassinates several high-ranking politicians. But the most important political force is Mohammad Mossadegh's National Front, a broad coalition of leftists, centrists, nationalists, and even conservative clergymen like the influential Ayatollah Kashani. This mixed group is held together by opposition to British influence, the wish to empower parliament at the expense of the Shah, and the desire to bring the oil industry under Iranian state control by nationalizing it. In 1951, the parliament elects Mossadegh prime minister with a large majority.
This is a big deal. They elected him sweepingly. So that's why this is very, very important.
Owner and a monarchist, but introduces sweeping reforms, including more rights for workers, social security, and a tax on landowners. Mossadegh's priority, though, is getting the British out and nationalizing oil. He demands a better profit-sharing deal and expels some British oil company personnel, but Anglo-Iranian interrupts production. Mossadegh, with the approval of Parliament, announces the nationalization of the company in April 1951. Long years of negotiations with foreign countries have served no purpose. The Iranian state prefers to control its own oil production. Thanks to the nationalization of the British company, we can combat corruption in our country. Our oil profits will enable us to review our entire budget to fight poverty, sickness, and underdevelopment. Another important point, we will now be able to preserve our international interests from foreign influence. The British company has nothing more to do in our country save to return its assets to their true owners. Iran's oil is now under its control, but Mossadegh has made many enemies.
And that's the thing, is their oil. It is on their land. It is their oil. Same thing with Ukraine when Trump made that horrible deal about the minerals. This is their stuff. But I don't think this is the right thing. Actually, no,
The Shah's supporters, landowners, and religious conservatives feel he's too radical. Today is upset that the USSR has not been involved and has the support of many intellectuals and some army officers. The Islamic extremists even tried to assassinate Mossadegh since he won't introduce Sharia law. The economy also suffers since there are not enough trained Iranians to run the oil wells. Oil production falls from 241 million barrels in 1951 to just 10 million in 1952, with a corresponding and catastrophic drop in state revenue. The British are furious as they view their oil interests in Iran as a question of state security. London complains to the UN Security Council and the International Court of The Hague, but neither feel that the problem is within their jurisdiction.
What's interesting is like they think this is a problem, but they don't think the genocide in Gaza is a problem.
The British sanction oil sales. Their forces carry out military exercises in the region, and opposition leader Winston Churchill even suggests a coup. London does pressure the Shah to get rid of Mossadegh and appoint a more compliant prime minister, and British MI6 agents secretly support anti-government protests, although the Foreign Office sees a danger in half measures. Until we made it perfectly plain that we see no possibility of reaching an agreement with Dr. Mossadegh, the growing opposition to him will be unwilling to commit themselves to the point of bringing about his overthrow. Meanwhile, the United States worries that conflict between Britain and Iran might play into the hands of their Cold War rivals, the Soviets, when in reality, Moscow has a poor opinion of Mossadegh at this time. In fact, the CIA has been quietly trying to limit the two-day party's growth for several years. So President Truman sends diplomat Avril Harriman to Iran over British objections. Many Iranians, including the government, see the US as a fairer partner than the British.
So this is kind of important. We were just talking about Bill Clinton. Bill Clinton, this is press secretary on the Epstein files. The White House hasn't been hiding these files for months, only to dump them late on a Friday to protect Bill Clinton. Okay, already not off to a good fucking start. No. This is about shielding themselves from what comes next or from what they'll try and hide forever. So they can release as many grainy 20-plus-year-old, 20-plus-year-old photos as they want. But this isn't about Bill Clinton. Never has, never will be. Even Susie Wiles said Donald Trump was wrong about Bill Clinton. There are two types of people here. The first group knew nothing and cut Epstein off before his crimes came to light. The second group continued relationships with him after. We're in the first. Oh my God, we literally just read that he wasn't. No, we just read that. I'm going to tweet it. No, we literally just read that Doug wanted him. But he was like, no, I'm good. No, it's fine. Oh my goodness. Let's see. I cannot believe. Just fess the fuck up. Like, I hate when they do this bullshit. We have eyes and ears. We're not stupid. And like, it's just like, I just don't understand why you can't tell the. Hi, Shay. I don't understand why you can't tell the truth. I want to find the one with Hillary Clinton and like them trying to. Hi, baby. My dog just came in. If only this came out before, I would have had that screenshotted. Damn it. I don't know. I think this one works. No, there's another one that we read that they talked about. About saying like, oh, he doesn't want to stop being friends with him. Here we go. No, it's not. That's because what I want to say, I'm just going to link the fucking piece. Why not? Oh, fuck. Because I want, like, I don't like when people do this. I do not like when people do this. I don't. Okay. Everyone, especially MAGA, expects answers, not scapegoats. Bitch, you raped women. You raped women and potentially raped girls. Fess the fuck up, 20-year-old. It's just like, enough. Enough. It is absolutely insane that the U.S. president, who is all over these fucking files, is like, I'm just a scapegoat. Bitch, where? Where's the scapegoat? Where is it? It's like, yeah. Oh my God. This one just popped up. That's the thing. Like, Bill Clinton's like, oh, it was just, we were friends before. No, fucker. We know you're not. You're a pedophile. You are a pedophile protector, at least. I don't know. There's been unverified if he's a pedophile. But he is a pedophile protector. That is 100% for sure. There is no fucking reason that a child that looks that young, I don't even need to see her fucking face, should be on a grown-ass man's lap, even if it was her father. That's fucking not normal. That's not acceptable. And then he's like, oh, it's okay. Fess up. Like, I just don't like when this happens. It's very frustrating. Oh, this was just, apparently there is a memo that they did not clear, and it's about Donald Trump. I think that is, we will put a pause on, because this is literally 14 seconds. Oh, okay, that's weird. I don't know why, that's weird. Anyways, so during one of Doe's encounters with Epstein, he took her to Mar-a-Lago, where he introduced her to its owner, Donald J. Trump. Introducing 14-year-old Doe to Donald J. Trump, Epstein elbowed Trump playfully, asking him, referring to Joe, "This is a good one, right?" Yeah. This is the president of the United States. This is the president of the current United States. Like, I just, They both Trump smiled and nodded in agreement. They both chuckled, and Doe felt uncomfortable, but at that time was too young to understand. I think I can't even imagine. Towards the end of 1994, Epstein invited Doe into his pool house where he grabbed her, put her on his lap, and started masturbating. Oh, God. Epstein told her that was what to expect from photographers who were soon going to take modeling pictures of her. However, when Doe was ultimately photographed by these professional photographers, they did no such thing. Oh my God, that's so sad. That's so fucking sad. Over the next few years, the sexual abuse escalated. On a regular basis, Epstein would digitally penetrate Doe, force Doe to perform sexual acts on him, and apply vibrators on different parts of Doe's body. The abuse occurred at Epstein's home in Palm Beach, Florida, Epstein's townhouse on 9 East 71 East Street in New York City, and Epstein's ranch in New Mexico. When traveling to these places, Doe often flew with Epstein and Maxwell in Epstein's private jet. I cannot see the bottom. I'm gonna make it smaller. After a few months, Epstein co-signed the lease for Doe and Doe's mother, oh my God, for an apartment. Additionally, Epstein paid for her tuition at a private high school in Manhattan as well. This is very common, that part. My question is, where the mom? Where's the mom? All of a sudden, your daughter is being sent to a private high school in Manhattan, and you got a new apartment, and you're not asking questions. This is Virginia. This was Virginia Giuffre. I never know how to pronounce her last name. She died by suicide last year. Let's take a moment to remember Virginia Giuffre, Caroline, and the other survivors who played ultimate price in this search for the truth. They were nobody's girls, and we failed them all. R.I.P. This is another one that's making the rounds. Noam Chomsky hanging with Ehud Barak in 2015. That is the prime minister, the former prime minister of Israel. And Noam Chomsky was against Israel. What the fuck is happening? Chomsky choosing to stain his legacy by befriending an Israeli war criminal, Epstein, is sad, but also contemptible in light of his undercutting of the BDS movement. I think it's worse. What? That's Ehud Barak. That's not just anyone. That is the former prime minister of Israel. And you know that he's committing atrocities in Gaza. And you're like, what's buddy? Well, the visits, this one was above 17, was above 16. While these visits made Doe extremely uncomfortable, Epstein and Maxwell made her feel she could not refuse them. During this time, Epstein started to pay for voice lessons for Doe and insisted that Doe would not advance her career in any way without him. When Doe expressed hesitation about spending time with Epstein and Maxwell, or acquiescing to their desires, Epstein and Maxwell would threaten Doe and scold her for being, quote, ungrateful. That's what they do. This is not surprising. At all. This is not surprising at all. Okay, let's get back to Iran. I'm so used to OBS. I'm not used to the back and forth kind of thing, so that's on me. I'm still getting used to it. My OBS keeps crashing. That's why I'm not using it anymore.
Major economic interests in the country. Harriman does convince the British to restart talks, but these fail, and he blames Mossadegh for being unwilling to compromise. Still, Truman and Secretary of State Dean Acheson are skeptical of British motives and veto a British plan to occupy the port of Abadan. The Shah, meanwhile, fears Mossadegh's reforms and the danger of conflict with Britain. He even fears, as he will later write, for the monarchy's very existence. The worst years of my reign, indeed of my entire life, came when Mossadegh was prime minister. Every morning I awoke with the sensation that today might be my last one on the throne. When Mossadegh resigned suddenly in July 1952, after an argument over who should control the military, the Shah appoints Ahmad Kavam in his place. Mossadegh is still popular among the people, and now even some of his political rivals are outraged. Kavam must know that the people will not submit to his colonialist policy. It is not by terrorizing people that he will manage to govern. If need be, I shall call Iranians to a holy war, the jihad, against all foreigners and their mercenaries who want to steal our country's assets and endanger its independence.
Doesn't this rhetoric sound really fucking familiar?
Most parties support a 5-day uprising following Mossadegh's dismissal. Dozens are killed in the violence, but the revolt forces the Shah to reappoint Mossadegh as prime minister. Tensions have only increased, and Britain now turns to the US for help since Iran has broken off diplomatic relations. President Eisenhower's election in late 1952 changes US policy in the Middle East, as his administration adopts a more active, new-look foreign policy. President Truman had earlier...
I just don't know why we can't stay out of shit. That's it. Just stay out of shit.
Supported Mossadegh and didn't want to provoke Soviet intervention by getting involved. Now, though, the intensity of the Cold War, including the recent Chinese Communist victory in their civil war and the ongoing conflict in Korea, heightens US fears about communism in Iran. There is some debate about whether US oil interests play a role in their eventual decision to launch a coup, but it's more likely that the worries about communist spread are the main motivator. Eisenhower will later share his view. Iran's downhill course toward communist-supported dictatorship was picking up momentum. For the Shah, the time had come to check that course. Iranian anti-communist political figures and some in Washington now suspect Mossadegh of authoritarian and communist sympathies. This is how they interpret events when Mossadegh interrupts the 1952 elections before all parliamentary seats are filled, requests emergency powers from Parliament, pushes for more centralized power, removes unfriendly army officers, and works with Tudeh in Parliament. Several National Front allies, including Ayatollah Kashani, break with Mossadegh in protest, and it's possible that MI6 and CIA agents have contributed to some of this internal discord as well. Meanwhile, the British still want to recover their stake in the oil industry and approach the Americans with a plan for a coup in Iran. In November and December 1952, CIA and MI6 agents hold secret talks. British agent Monty Woodhouse chooses his words carefully. Not wishing to be accused of trying to use the Americans to pull British chestnuts out of the fire, I decided to emphasize the communist threat to Iran rather than the need to recover control of the oil industry. I argued that even if a settlement of the oil dispute could be negotiated with Mossadegh, which was doubtful, he was still incapable of resisting a coup by the Tudeh party, if it were backed by Soviet support. Therefore, he must be removed. The US agrees to the plan despite the objections of some CIA officers, and Operation Ajax is born. The CIA, MI6, the Shah, once he'll be informed, and some anti-Mossadegh Iranians will work together to remove Mossadegh from power. Among these are paid agitators and informants, including journalists, officers, and intellectuals, but some sources claim former Mossadegh ally Ayatollah Kashani is also involved. Retired General Fazlollah Zahidi.
All you have to see is this. Once CIA is involved, once the CIA is involved, everyone's fucked. Once they're involved, everything's fucked. The CIA has caused so much fucking harm. Like, that's the literal one, like, government entity I wish Elon Musk shut down. I would have been totally okay with that because of how terrible the CIA is and the amount of harm the CIA has done. So I would have been totally fine. I would have been fine if Elon Musk had cut that. But unfortunately, that was not what he did.
Is to be the new prime minister, and the CIA sets aside $1 million for the plan, about $12 million today. The main organizer is CIA agent Kermit Roosevelt. In early
imagine if your name's Kermit.
1953, anti-National Front propaganda appears in Iran, including several new newspapers, and several major anti-Mossadegh riots take place, especially after he dissolves the parliament via a rigged referendum. Agents also target members of parliament and army officers to turn them against the prime minister. In August, Operation Ajax goes into action, an episode whose events and interpretations are still controversial today. The Shah is hesitant to move against the popular Mossadegh openly and distrusts the British. He only agrees after reassurances from Roosevelt. On August 15, 1953, Mohammad Reza Pahlavi dismisses Mossadegh with a CIA-drafted decree and has several ministers arrested. But the Shah's decree is illegal as Parliament has not approved it, and Mossadegh is tipped off, possibly by today. Police loyal to the Prime Minister arrest the officer of the Shah's Imperial Guard who serves him with the decree. Army units are also on the move, some to arrest Mossadegh and others to protect him. General Hussein Fardoust recalls.
That's terrifying.
Zahidi ordered the execution of the plan for the coup, but surprisingly, none of the military formations moved from their locations. The Minister of Defense, General Riahi, was informed of the incident, and the military units loyal to Mossadegh disarmed and arrested the 3 military units of the coup without a clash. In the aftermath, chaos reigns. Forces loyal to Mossadegh search Tehran for Zahidi, who goes into hiding at a CIA safe house. Angry crowds tear down statues of the Shah, though it's still debated which political or foreign forces are behind them, and the Shah flees the country, much to the surprise of the Americans and British.
Why?
Government forces arrest suspected plotters in the military, and there are even reports Mossadegh orders gallows erected on Sepah Square. Large two-day protests add to the confusion, especially since they're likely started by Iranian CIA agents as a false flag to discredit Tudeh before actual Tudeh supporters unknowingly join. Washington believes Operation Ajax has failed, but Roosevelt, Zahidi, and their allies try again. Roosevelt arranges for journalists to interview Zahidi, and the clergy begins a new propaganda effort. U.S. Defense Department official Wilbur Eveland recalls what happens next. On August 19th, loyalist mobs were collected in southern Tehran and were led into the modern quarters, where they swept along soldiers and officers. General Zahidi emerged from hiding to climb into a tank and be taken to the radio station, where he proclaimed the new government. The crowds are the subject of many allegations, that they're paid by the CIA, organized by Kashani, or egged on by criminal elements. Some police and military units join, and pro-Zahidi forces with 32 Sherman tanks besiege key points in the city. Around 300 people are killed. Zahidi's troops arrest Mossadegh after heavy fighting at his home, and the general proclaims himself prime minister. The Shah returns, and his court sentenced Mossadegh to house arrest in his home village. According to Roosevelt's later memoir, the monarch credits the CIA agent personally. I owe my throne to God, to my people, my army, and to you.
What's happening here is literally the same thing that the United States wants to do, but in Venezuela.
There is, though, some discussion about who is really responsible for the coup's success. Most historians and the CIA and MI6 agents who later write memoirs attribute the coup's success to the CIA and MI6. President Eisenhower believes Roosevelt's version as he confides to his diary. Another recent development that we helped bring about was the restoration of the Shah to power in Iran and the elimination of Mossadegh. The things we did were covert. If knowledge of them became public, we would not only be embarrassed in that region, but our chances to do anything of like nature in the future would almost totally disappear. I listened to Roosevelt's detailed report, and it seemed more like a dime novel than a historical fact. We can understand exactly how courageous our agent was in staying right on the job and continuing to work until he reversed the entire situation.
Oh my God.
But some point to U.S.
That's what they always say. We're going to stay on the ground until we'll make sure everything's all standy.
State Department documents that order a halt to the coup after its initial failure, which would place more responsibility on local actors like General Zahedi and the clergy for its success. Woodhouse even claims the CIA simply exaggerates its role to get a budget increase from Congress. In any case, Iran was now a US-friendly power. The Shah's government supports US interests and opposes Soviet ones most of the time. And the Anglo-Iranian Oil Company, soon renamed British Petroleum, resumes the extraction and sale of Iranian oil, now joined by US companies. The success of Operation Ajax helps encourage the US to sponsor other Cold War coup attempts in years to come, including in Guatemala, Egypt, Indonesia, and Cuba. In Iran, the Shah and Zahedi crack down on internal enemies. The government declares opposition parties illegal, hunts down Islamic groups, sidelines Kashani, and represses Tudeh and the remainder of the National Front. Another step in authoritarian rule is the creation of the Shah's secret police, the Savak, who will soon strike fear into most Iranians. US intervention based on Cold War fears of communism creates a powder keg in Iran. It will take more than 50 years for future President Barack Obama to admit the US role in the 1953 coup, and by then, Iran will have faced even more dramatic upheavals.
And then the huge deal that Trump made with Iran, Biden made with, oh my gosh, Obama, just going down the list of presidents, made with Iran. It was a big fucking deal, and Trump distorted it.
Since you made it to the end of this video, you're probably a fan of detailed history document.
So the reason why this is important is because you have to know what happens and what has led to the anger and upset of the United States before you are able to know about function. Because it would, I think, in my opinion, I think it would be too confusing. Because sometimes they brush over things, sometimes they don't. It depends. It depends on the day. Let's check this one.
I'm Mr. Beats. Our story features 7 countries. Who do we ask for help when we don't know where places are located? That's right, map. You have to say map. There he is. That even my brother can do it. But let's review, shall we? The state of political hostility that...
Okay, I don't like how he's talking. I don't like that at all.
It was one of America's most notorious presidential scandals that must cost Ronald Reagan his presidency. The Iran-Contra affair. In the early 1980s, the U.S. was still in a Cold War with Russia, and anti-communist sentiment was strong. During his presidential campaign, Reagan promised to assist anti-communist insurgencies around the world. For a brief time under Reagan, the CIA trained and assisted groups fighting communist leaders abroad. Reagan was particularly interested in a group called the Contras and their battle in Nicaragua. The Contras were a group battling the Cuban-backed Sandinistas, a communist group who had seized power in 1979. Reagan called the Contras the moral equivalent of our founding fathers. But much of the Contras funding came from the cocaine trade. Because of this, Congress passed the Bolin Amendment, specifically aimed at keeping American money from funding the group. That happened in 1982, shortly after Reagan took office. The amendment restricted the CIA and Department of Defense from using funds to provide military assistance to groups that were...
The fact that they have to fucking state that shows how fucking corrupt the United States is.
...trying to overthrow Nicaragua's government, groups like the Contras. This didn't stop Reagan. The president told his national security advisor, Robert McFarlane, to help the Contras anyway, regardless of the cost. McFarlane found opportunity in Iran. In 1985...
So already Iran has been taken over by the puppet government that the United States put in, and Hezbollah, I believe. I'm pretty sure, I could be incorrect. Is in charge.
An Iranian-backed terrorist group held 7 American hostages in Lebanon. Reagan insisted his advisors find a way to bring the hostages home, saying, "I want you to do whatever you have to do to help these people keep body and soul together." So with permission from Reagan, McFarlane made a deal. The U.S. would give Iran weapons, and Iran would broker the release of the hostages. This happened even though Reagan publicly insisted he would not negotiate with terrorists, and despite the fact that there was a trade embargo with Iran. But that was just the tip of the iceberg. The deal with Iran didn't just secretly secure the release of the hostages in exchange for weapons. There was money involved. While $30 million had been allocated for the weapons, the CIA funneled a portion of that money to the Contras in Nicaragua, the group Reagan supported in their guerrilla fight against the Sandinista government. In 1986, the Lebanese newspaper Al Shura reported the arms deal, and everything began to unravel. That prompted an investigation by the U.S. Attorney General, who discovered that only $12 million of the $30 million actually went toward weapons for Iran. The rest of the money was sent to the Contras in Nicaragua. The revelations were explosive. Reagan denied the allegations that he had negotiated with terrorists. But
if you can hear it, I
Colonel Oliver
apologize.
North came forward and acknowledged that he diverted funds.
This was a big fucking deal. Now, if this happened now, I would have been like, okay, next. Like, that's how far we've come. That's how, it's so sad.
To the Contras. North also said Reagan knew about it. North's testimony would inspire the press and Congress to launch investigations against Reagan for the rest of his presidency. Texas Senator John Tower led the investigation into the scandal. The Tower Commission determined it was Reagan's lack of oversight that allowed Iran-Contra to happen, but did not implicate Reagan directly. It wasn't until another congressional investigation in 1987 that Reagan finally testified. On May 5th, 1987,
He's so fucking pissed. Look at his face. This has to be in Boston.
Arms deal with
This
Iran
has to be in Boston.
and the assistance to Nicaragua. The hearings would go on for 41 days. Reagan was never charged, but McFarlane, Oliver North, 4 CIA officers, 5 government contractors, and Reagan's national security advisor, John Poindexter, were all found guilty. Yet, speculation about Reagan's involvement lingered on. Press investigations would go on for years to follow. While Reagan's image suffered a bit, he still left office with one of the highest approval ratings of any president in U.S. history.
He also destroyed this fucking country. So that's what the Iran-Contra scandal is. So how exactly is this connected to Epstein? Which I think is a fair question. Well, let's talk about it. Job site news. Again, incredible reporting. Come back. This week, the New York Times awoke from its slumber to publish an extensive investigation on Jeffrey Epstein's that purported, I don't know big words, to put to rest the question of how the man made his money early in his career. I think it's funny that it's the New York Times because another New York Times journalist has been found to have been hanging out with Epstein and never disclosed it. And the first person, Landis Thomas Jr., he was fired when it came out. So that I'm pretty sure that's why the other guy's like, mums. In it, the Times dismisses the possibility that Epstein could have worked for or adjacent to intelligence agencies. Abundant conspiracy theories hold that Epstein worked for spy services or ran a lucrative blackmail operation, but we found a more prosaic explanation for how he built a fortune, the paper wrote. To the paper's credit, their journalists have put into the record some details that took an oppressive effort to track down. For instance, the paper reported about Epstein's business associates in the early 1980s. I need to stop pressing this fucking button. Epstein had been spending extravagantly, and despite his lofty compensation at Bear Stearns, and his work for Douglas Lease, he found himself strapped, even occasionally bouncing rent checks. That's fucking insane. Back in New York, he joined forces with John Stanley Pottinger, a lawyer who had recently left a senior position in the Justice Department. Epstein, Pottinger, and Pottinger's brother rented a penthouse office in the Hotel St. Moritz on Central Park South. The broker, Joanna Cutler, told us that Epstein initially stiffed her on the commission. The Times deserves credit, we suppose, for digging up that nugget from his one-time broker, but had the paper decided to look up rather than look down, they may have noticed something a bit more revelatory in their own reporting. Stanley Pottinger, as it happens, was a notable figure in the scandal that became known as Iran-Contra, in which the CIA used Israel as a middleman to move off the books weapons to Iran. In the early 1980s, under the CIA's investigation, Pottinger advised an Iranian banker on shipping embargo arms to Iran using fraudulent paperwork in overseas dummy companies. In this very same period that Pottinger and Epstein worked together selling tax avoidance strategies from a penthouse by Central Park. I mean, he literally could have, stopped spending so much fucking money. Pottinger's system eventually gave rise to a network of covert intermediaries shipping arms around the world. The CIA's profit became a slush fund used to illegally bankroll the insurgent Contra army, who waged a war against Nicaragua's leftist government while simultaneously trafficking cocaine to the United States. And they said it's all about the drugs. It's like they literally are the reason that there was a cocaine epidemic. The CIA is the fucking reason. The other figure from Epstein's past, Douglas Lease, meanwhile, is described by the Times as, quote, a defense contractor with extensive connections in the arms industry and the British government. What he did with those connections and where he trafficked those arms is left unexplored by the paper. A look at Bermuda financial records and Lisa's own lawsuit filed in the U.S. District Court for the Southern District of Miami suggests he was working with the U.S. government and linked to a Chinese arms manufacturer. The Times also failed to note that Epstein and Lise had a mutual associate, Adnan Khashoggi. Does that name sound familiar? But I don't think they're related. The journalist that was chopped up at the Saudi Arabia embassy. But I don't think they're related. But the notorious money launderer and weapons trafficker, who was also a central player in the Iran-Contra affair. So these weren't just like people that you hang out with and you met them at like a bar. No, these are people that were really fucking high up and had a lot of fucking power. And I just don't understand like how they meet. This world is wild to me. The Times did find that Epstein was, quote, a relentless scammer who abused expense accounts, engineered inside deals, and demonstrated a remarkable knack for separating seemingly sophisticated investors and businessmen from their money. The contrast between what the Times found noteworthy about his relationship with his penthouse mate Hunter, he initially stiffed the broker, and what they failed to notice is stark. In order to acquit Epstein of any connections to intelligence agencies, the paper of record instead crafted Epstein into an anti-Semitic caricature of historic proportions. Oh my gosh. I mean, we're not dumb. It's right fucking there. We know there's way too many fucking connections between Epstein and Israel. So I think he's Jewish too. I could be wrong. We put this take to the Times and we're told by spokesperson Daniel Rhodha, we report on facts that we are able to confirm, not supposition. Of course, it would be an extraordinary coincidence that Epstein shared a penthouse with an Iran-Contra lawyer, worked for Iran-Contra arms dealer, and then, as we report below, moved the Iran-Contra planes to Ohio for use by billionaire retail mogul Leslie Wexner. Jesus. It may simply be a coincidence that Ehud Barak, one of Epstein's closest friends, was the head of Israel's military intelligence during the planning for Iran-Contra and supervised the CIA's first delivery. But it might also be something the Times should look a bit closer at, if they're so inclined. I love the cattiness of this. This is funny. Until then, drop site reporting will have to do, and we can't do it without the readers. That's wild. That's wild. I just don't oh my gosh. I can't believe that. No, I can believe, but it's like the more that comes out about Epstein, the more insane things sound. And it's just, it makes you question everything, I feel like. And like, that's a very weird feeling. But it's true. Like, it makes you question everything. Like, I don't know. It's kind of wild that we are living currently in a place that literally supports genocide and pedophiles. I truly never thought this day would ever come. What? Wait a second. Oh my God. They already took down the thing. This site houses materials responsive under the Epstein Files Transparency Act. This site will be updated if additional documents are identified for release. Some of the library's contents include descriptions of sexual assault. As such, please be advised that certain portions of this library may not be appropriate for all. But oh, okay. I was like, what? I thought they took it down. Court records. Look at all the does. There's so many doe. This is so sad. And I can't even imagine. I cannot even imagine. The severe harm that Epstein and his buddies caused. And they never got justice. I want to start at the 2008 Doe 3 Epstein number 908. Okay, there's pictures, so I will make sure that there's. Okay. Oh, they made it harder than necessary. Okay. Jane Doe is a citizen and resident of the state of Florida and is sui juris. The complaint is brought under a fictitious name to protect the identity of the plaintiff because this complaint makes sensitive allegations of sexual assault and abuse upon her when she was a minor. Defendant Jeffrey Epstein is a citizen and resident of the state of New York. This is an action for damages in excess for $50 million. This court has jurisdiction of this action, and the claims set forth herein pursuant to the law, as the matter in controversy exceeds $75,000, exclusive of interest and costs, and is between citizens of different states. I want to get to the part. Okay. At all relevant times, defendant Jeffrey Epstein was an adult male, 52 years old. Epstein is a financer and money manager with a secret clientele limited exclusively to billionaires. He is himself a man of tremendous wealth, power, and influence. He maintains his principal home in New York and also owns residences in New Mexico, St. Thomas, and Palm Beach, Florida. The allegations herein concern Epstein's conduct while at his lavish estate in Palm Beach. Upon information and belief, Jeffrey Epstein carried out his scheme and assaulted girls in Florida, New York, and on his private island, known as Little St. James and St. Thomas. An integral, I think, player in Epstein's Florida scheme was Haley Robinson, a Palm Beach community college student from Loxahatchee, Florida. She recruited girls. Wait, why is her name not blacked out? Well, Trump's name's not blacked out, so that okay. Under Epstein's plan, Miss Robinson would be contacted when Epstein was planning to be at his Palm Beach residence or soon after he had arrived there. Epstein or someone on his behalf directed Miss Robinson to bring one or more underage girls to the residence. And we've seen them request what they are looking for. So he is looking for children. Miss Robson, upon information and belief, generally sought economically disadvantaged underage girls from Loxahatchee and surrounding areas who would be enticed by the money being offered, generally $200 to $300 per massage session. I remember this is, does it say when this started? Okay, 2004. That's a lot of money. That's a lot of money for at that time. And who were perceived as less likely to complain to authorities or have credibility if allegations improper no, I skipped something. Where did it go? Allegations of improper were made. This was an important element of Epstein's plan. Epstein's plan and scheme reflected a particular pattern and method. Upon arrival at Epstein's mansion, the victim would be brought to the kitchen. She would then be led up a flight of stairs to a bedroom that contained a massage table in addition to other furnishings. Once the girl was alone in this room, Epstein would enter wearing only a towel to cover his private area. He then would lay down on the massage table and perform one or more lewd, lavish, and sexual acts, including masturbation and touching the girl sexually. I'm curious why they didn't say molest, because she's a child, but I'm just saying. Consistent with the foregoing plan and scheme, Miss Robinson recruited Jane Doe to give Epstein a massage for monetary compensation. Miss Robson brought Jane to Epstein's mansion in Palm Beach. Jane was led up the flight of stairs in the room with the massage table. She was alone in the room when Epstein arrived wearing a towel to cover his private parts. He laid down on the massage table and sexually assaulted Jane Doe during the massage. In addition, Jeffrey Epstein masturbated during the massage. After Epstein had completed the assault, he left the room. Jane was then able to leave the room and go back downstairs. She then met Miss Robson again, who brought Jane home. Jane was paid $200 by Epstein. Miss Robson was also paid by Epstein for bringing Jane to him. I wonder how much she was paid for. As a result of this encounter with Epstein, the 16-year-old experienced trauma, shock, confusion, shame, humiliation, and embarrassment. Count 1, sexual assault. Plaintiff Jane Doe. Okay, that's the reason why I want to read what has been done is because people are not taking it as seriously that the president of the United States interacted with these people. And it's always about the victims. It's always about the victims. And yet I feel like the media just doesn't talk about the victims. And so that's why I think it's really important to hear these words. Okay, this was a summons. Herman Mermelstein, Miami, Florida. Okay. Order requiring counsel to confer, file joint scheduling report, and file joint discovery report. This order has been entered upon filing. This is more procedural things. Plaintiff's motion for entry of default against client. Okay. What is this? Dorman with military. Okay. Plaintiff, defendant, date not filled in. So this is a deposition. I don't know who this person is. Okay. I served the summons and complaint after prior attempts were made on 04/23/08, 6:15 p.m. and then tried again at the 24th, tried again the next month. Jeffrey Epstein, the defendant therein named by delivering and leaving a true copy or copies of the aforementioned documents with, quote, John Smith, assistant and house staff employee who refused true name. First of all, I think that's fine that they did not share their name. Are you serious? I think it's perfectly fine. A person of suitable age and discretion who refused access to, quote, defendant's actual department and had accepted in accordance with his or her everyday duties. The deponent, I've never seen this word, describes the person served as aforesaid to the beat of deponent's ability at the time and circumstances of the service as follows. Okay. So they're describing a male. So I'm guessing they're describing, but they're not. So they have to be the person doing the deposition because Epstein was 52. This happened on the 5th. At this time, I asked what I don't understand what this is. Oh, this is his get out of jail card to not serve, to not go on active duty. That's what this is. What? The draft existed in 2008? Really? Did I miss something? I don't remember that. Okay, I don't remember learning about that. There's so many, like, okay. All of these said, like, he was avoiding everything. He was avoiding the fact that people were being subpoenaed. Like, it seems like he truly thought he was either going to get away with it or what, because, like, it's time and time again. We tried contacting them. I don't know. I don't understand. Because I don't know. Okay. Exhibit A, affidavit of Richard Barnett. I don't know who that is, but it's for 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 girls. This is just like more lawyer stuff. The reason why I think this is really important, even though I wish everything was named, because I hate scouring through. Yeah, again, this is like the 5th time that there's been a memorandum. I just see service of process was effected at Jeffrey Epstein's New York residence on May 7th, 2008 at 7:45 a.m. by handing a copy of the summons and complaint to a person in defendant's residence who refused to identify himself. Again and again, he refused to go to court. And again, he kept getting away with it. What is bare bones? Defendant Jeffrey Epstein claims that service of process on him was ineffective under Florida federal law based solely on, quote, bare bones affidavit that raises more questions than it answers. At a minimum, the issue of whether service was effective under Florida or general law is at this point a fact that should be the subject of discovery. He's trying every fucking thing to get out of this. Oh, this is permission and saying like there's going to be CSAM. Okay, all they had to do was at least say, this pile is with all the garbage. This is the detailed pile. Yet again, defendant Jeffrey Epstein's motion to say this action is based on the incorrect premises that there were criminal actions pending against him in Palm Beach. What date is this? It doesn't say. It's time and again, he's just getting away with everything. And I fucking hate it. I hate it so much. Okay, dear Mr. Herman, I don't know who that is. On June 30th, 2008, Jeffrey Epstein Epstein entered a plea of guilty to violations of Florida statute sections. I'm skipping over that, and was sentenced to 12 months imprisonment to be followed by additional 6 months imprisonment, followed by 12 months of community control 1, with conditions of community confinement imposed by the court. That just, you raped so many girls, and I know about the Acosta thing, but still it's like very heartbreaking to like see it right there. One such condition to which Epstein has agreed in the following. Oh, he's agreed to this. Oh, okay. He's agreed to this. He has the fucking power, obviously. Any person who, while a minor, was a victim of violation of an offense enumerated in Title 18 will have the same rights to proceed under Section 2255 as she would have had if Mr. Epstein had been tried federally and convicted of enumerated offense. For purposes of implementing this paragraph, the United States shall provide Mr. Epstein's attorney with the list of individuals whom it was prepared to name and an indictment as victims of an enumerated offense by Mr. Epstein. Any judicial authority interpreting this provision, including any authority to determining which evidentiary burdens, if any, a plaintiff must meet, shall consider that it is the intent of the parties to place these identified victims in the same place, in the same position as they would have been had Mr. Epstein been convicted of trial. And there's this incredible documentary I highly recommend. It's on Netflix. And it's about Epstein. And it talks exactly about this. Robert fucking Acosta. This was Trump's Secretary of, let's see. I'm pretty sure labor. Secretary of Labor. See, I know much. This I want to save. This I definitely want to save. Acosta signature. 18. This is just so, that is such a slap in the fucking face. And I know the victims were never told about Epstein's deal. I know that because it was said in the, what's it called? Documentary. This motherfucker got 18 months for sexual assault, raping children. 1, 2, 3, and 4. And that is just the girls that were reported it. That's just the girls that came forward. It's just it's just insane that someone can just get away with something. But all of these are saying order denying, motion to seal. And the victims are trying to unseal it, and the judge is like, no. I don't know how the people who defended Epstein feel. I don't understand. Okay. This is what is this? Plaintiff's memorandum. Oh, this is what she's saying because the motion to dismiss the entire case. Okay. Trump's reported in one of these specific Jane Doe cases too. And it's not a good, it's a bad one that they didn't scrub. And I'm glad they missed that one. Oh, he's talking about representing Epstein. I don't care. No, I'm all for who's Sarah Kellen? Is that the secretary? Sarah Kellen. Because there was a woman secretary that was constantly being so she was the secretary, she was the planner, she was the behind the scenes. Okay. I didn't know. Okay. Okay. This is, I guess, part of her story. And so this particular lady has kept in part of a diary, and which appears to have started sometime this is not in any way significant, but sometime after she learned that she could file the lawsuit. I think she's also been to Oakwood Center sometime after she learned she could file a lawsuit and seek damages from Mr. Epstein. There's no history of this lady beforehand other than in some of the Oakwood records where she was Baker acted. She started drinking beer at 16. She started Xanax at 16, started weed at 15, that she's sexually active. These are exactly the type of girls that they would look for. Just like Matt Gaetz, also in Florida. So how she has interacted, she has a claim for emotional damages, mental health pain, and anguish. So it's basically saying like, this is a response to this discovery. I think this is important. This is circumstances where this young lady is saying, look, Jeffrey Epstein has ruined my life from a damage standpoint, okay? Let me depose other individuals with whom you've had a relationship. And what if it turns out, as with some of these girls did, is they had relationships or had escapades or circumstances with individuals, older men similar to Mr. Epstein, well before Mr. Epstein. And this girl, I don't know one way or another, but let's assume she had a situation where she was assaulted or molested or raped, that all is going to affect her emotional, oh my God, the way this is written, I don't like it, and her mental pain and anguish. It will all factor into evaluating damages. So she was, I believe, 16 at the beginning and ended at 17. She was a minor during all this time. We have alleged that she has been hospitalized for depression, anxiety, but we have not alleged any damages concerning. The only reason this would be relevant is if we were making a claim at her ability to have either their sexual relations or to have emotional relations with men was affected by her experience with Epstein. Okay, obviously, she doesn't need to just focus on men to like say this really fucked up my life. Okay. So this damages claim is just a smokescreen to attempt to get evidence to show the jury that this woman has had other consensual relationships with young men that are approximately her age, what I would characterize as a slut defense. She had it coming to her because she engaged in other voluntary consensual. And then the judge was like, Mr. Criden wouldn't try the slut defense in my court, I'm sure. Yeah, that does so fucking much, Judge. That does so fucking much. She is seeking emotional distress damages for depression and anxiety. She's been hospitalized at the Oak Center. Her friend, she was on the phone to a friend who called the sheriff's office because she thought she was suicidal. The sheriffs responded. They Baker acted her that day, and they took her eventually to the Oakwood Center. Court, how do we know it's not intertwined with her rejection by 3 other men? Oh my God. I truly fucking hate this system. How do we know it's not intertwined with her rejection by 3 other men since Mr. Epstein? Mr. Garcia, do you know how vulnerable she must have been to admit anything to these random ass people? And they're just like, yeah, are you sure though? Like, she did already have sex with 3 men. So like, are you sure the damages are about Epstein? I can't. I fucking Well, even if it was related to her rejection by 3 other men, and you mean other men's rejection of her, question. The court, yeah, well, how do you not know that? I mean, you can't do it until you do discovery. Has anybody attempted to review the records from Oakwood to find what's going on? It's like a one-time visit when she was Baker acted, and then there's some other, the court, she didn't receive treatment. Does he not know what Baker acted means? She received treatment for that day, and she's been back a couple of times. She's on medication. Again, I don't know what the extent, but she's got her medical bills are de minimis. Again, as an example, Judge, did the court have an opportunity to look at the case that I also attached to the motion? Because there's a case that's almost all fours with this, which I attached to our motion, which is called Bales versus Russo. It was a case where the plaintiff was sued. The plaintiff sued the former owners of a house of prostitution. So that part is different. But within it, there were a number of claims, including a sexual assault claim, and they sought emotional pain, humiliation, and emotional distress. Within the complaint that was filed in this particular case, she is seeking severe emotional distress, mental anguish, humiliation, embarrassment, past and future compensatory humiliation, loss of reputation, mental anguish, pain and suffering, the same type of damages. And what the court said, the court, how old is she now? She's 21 now. Oh my God, this is going to piss me off. What the court said is, if you'd only brought this claim under 796 evidence of past issues, it's not an issue. You can't use this as a defense for anything, but because you brought these other claims, which include, sexual assault, and you're seeking damages for other causes of action, since the information sought by discovery may be relevant or may lead to the discovery of admissible evidence in one or more of the other causes of action or determination of damages, we cannot conclude the trial court parted from essential requirements of law and granting. The court. So in other words, she's not only seeking, she's seeking current emotional damage as a result of this relationship. Okay, it wasn't a relationship though. It was, and you're trying to find out if she had a prior relationships that perhaps could be intertwined with it so that it's not just Mr. Epstein's. One of the cases that there's a young lady who claims that she was molested in the past and raped, pretty significant issues well in advance of her ever meeting Mr. Epstein. Jesus. So because she was abused previously, it's not Mr. Epstein's fault. She was already fucked up in the head. That's what they're fucking saying. That's absolutely diabolical. I mean, it's 2008. I have to remind myself. This is so awful. We're going to come to the court in this case, as we have others, and ask for a psychological evaluation of this lady and if she was raped or if she was molested or just she had a bad experience or whether it was a young man or old man assaulted her in some fashion that may play a role in her damages and what. This is gross. This is fucking gross. That was gross. Oh. I don't get it. I do not understand. I know women were always treated this way, but it's still really hard to read. Okay, this is the same. This is just like more back and forth. Important. But, Defendant has made a blanket assertion of the privilege against self-incrimination that is insufficient. Uh-huh. Sure. Sure, buddy. Imagine just being like, because these statements are true, let's just dismiss it. So apparently Jeffrey Epstein requested the court to identify who the Jane Doe 3 was. Okay, but like she literally, like, you can't. I just 21 years old. You've been having a tough time since you were it's just so sad. And it's so infuriating. I'm just getting more and more annoyed. Is this just okay? I'm like spopping around. This is how I wonder how, like, there's no date, but he dragged this the fuck out. That's for sure. Okay, Declaration of Jane Doe 6. This is a new person. I am plaintiff identified as Jane Doe 6 in this lawsuit. On July 2009, an investigator came to the office of my former employer and described. After the investigator left, I was contacted by my former employer and told the investigator was asking personal questions about me. I am worried that Jeffrey Epstein will continue to send investigators to speak with other people I know who do not know I am a plaintiff in this lawsuit. I am concerned. Oh my God, this poor girl. I am concerned that the investigators will ask these people very personal questions about my life and disclose that I am a plaintiff in a sexual abuse lawsuit against Jeffrey Epstein. This was in 2009. So Jeffrey Epstein was hiring investigators to harass these girls at their jobs. And the thing is, like, who's going to stop him? He has the fucking money. Who's going to stop him? I just cannot believe, with all of this fucking evidence, that he got 18 months. Again, he's asking to withdraw. It's so weird. Oh, stipulation of dismissal with prejudice. This is for Jane Doe 3. 2010. So it's been 2 years of this. The above style action is hereby dismissed with prejudice. All pending motions are denied as moot. Just a Matt. I don't know why. I really don't know why. Because some of these they're Ghislaine Maxwell was not mentioned. So I don't even understand why. I don't know. I don't understand why the Biden administration didn't just leak this. I don't get it. It doesn't make sense to me. Like, this could destroy. I don't know if it would have destroyed the campaign. I'm not sure. But it would have gotten people talking. So I just, I don't know why I'm so shocked. I have no idea why I am so shocked. I don't know. Okay. Oh my God, Pam Bondi, this bitch. I don't have a good name for her yet. But when I do, I will say it. President Trump is leading the most transparent administration in American history. By moving to unseal these records, we hope to give the American people more answers about that. Oh my God, this isn't about Epstein. Oh my God, this is about Thomas Crooks. Earlier today, the Department of Justice received court approval to disclose to Congress documents gathered as part of the FBI's investigation of Thomas Crooks and his attempt to assassinate President Trump. The Department of Justice is committed to transparency, following the law, and protecting crime victims. No one gives a fuck about that. Like, oh, this is funny. Transparency. This is transparency. I don't get it. There's like a special place in hell for these people. Just saying. There is a special place in hell. Okay. CNN interviews one of the victims. And so let's watch it. Personally, this is just me personally. I've never liked the word victim to describe sexual abuse and sexual assault. I think survivor is better, but people keep going in and out, so I don't really know what to use.
Epstein's abuse. She's now a licensed psychologist. Also joining us is Lauren Hirsch, the national director for World Without Exploitation.
Is
Annie, this is a heavy.
What the hell? What the hell? Oh, that's weird. Okay, there we go.
Day, a momentous day, but a heavy day, a heavy week. How are you feeling?
There was a lot of anxiety coming into today for many of us survivors that have been involved in this process. But I have to say, it has been an emotional day in a way that I was not expecting. My sister, Maria Farmer, reported Epstein and his crimes in 1996. We've been saying that over and over again. And part of what was released today was an official FBI form, and I think it was an FT-71, dated September 3rd, 1996, with some of my sister's report. It was labeled under child pornography, and it described Epstein stealing photos of myself at the age of 16, of my younger sister, who was 12 at the time. And just to see it in writing and to know that they had this document this entire time, and how many people were harmed after that date, it just, you know, we've been saying it over and over, but to see it in black and white that way has been very emotional. I'm with Maria today. I know she felt a tremendous amount of relief and redemption, but also sorrow in thinking about, you know, people like Virginia Roberts Frey who are not here to see this and be a part of really forcing the government to be transparent finally about this case.
So Annie, I mean, I'm just so people know what this is, the document that you're talking about. It is the 1996 complaint that your sister made to the FBI.
We read that earlier.
About Epstein. She alleged that he stole nude and partially nude photographs of her underage sisters, constituting child pornography. And as we know, law enforcement failed to act on that complaint in 1996. She's followed up on this. She sued in response. You sued over what you experienced. Maria, in a statement, has said, "This is amazing. Thank you for believing me. I feel redeemed. This is one of the best days of my life." Of course, it's mixed with the fact that I'm devastated about all the other little girls like Virginia who were harmed because the FBI didn't do their job. I'm crying for two reasons. I want everyone to know that I'm shedding tears of joy for myself, but also tears of sorrow for all the other victims that the FBI, looking at this document, and I can feel, I'm sure, just a fraction of the emotion you feel, because you think of, like, if only they took this seriously, how many innocent girls would not have been harmed if only they took this seriously. But it is vindication. It is something, right, Annie?
It's so sad.
Yeah, I mean, and I still have big questions about whether it was, you know, did they not take it seriously, or were they protecting Epstein because of whatever relationship he had with the government, right? Like, there's just so many questions, and why we hope for, again, more transparency. But yes, this is really, really significant to many of us.
It reminds me also of the young woman who went to the FBI and complained about Dr. Larry Nassar at Michigan State, who was molesting all those gymnasts and was also not taken seriously. Think of all the pain that could have been avoided. Annie,
maybe the FBI has a fucking problem with listening to girls and women. I don't know.
Some of your fellow survivors have not been happy with the way that the Democrats on the House Oversight Committee have been releasing information and photographs, not necessarily with enough of a heads up for the survivors, sometimes with context, important context missing, et cetera. I imagine it's kind of triggering to not be given proper warning. What have you been hearing from other survivors about the way that these documents have been released by Democrats on House Oversight?
Yeah, I mean, I'd say, actually, I'd like to speak more broadly, because I think that similar to how things are released today. You know, just the government, I'd say, has not done a good job of communicating with victims throughout this process.
Nope.
You know, we did not know what to expect from today. I don't think it would have been difficult from someone from the DOJ to reach out to prepare us a little bit more about how this was planned to be rolled out, but we had no information, and we are literally just learning of things like everyone else. And that goes is also is true for you know, some of the things that have come from the House Oversight Committee, and there has been communication, and I think they have made some efforts to try and rectify those processes, because yeah, it is triggering, and there's just a way in which it's hard to focus on anything right now with all of this going on. I think many of us are feeling, you know, really on edge and worn out. It's, you know, we have regular lives. People are trying to, you know, go to doctor's appointments, take care of children, you know, do regular life holiday things, and it's just a
I know Christmas is next
not know
week.
what's coming next. So I think, you know, there are things like victims advocates for a reason. I know the government employs them. I don't understand why no one is using.
They don't have enough, and they don't. I'm not surprised they're not using the victim advocates.
Them right now.
I hope you feel the support of the American people behind you, Annie, because so many of us are just behind you all the way. Lauren, how do officials in Congress and the Justice Department strike the right balance when it comes to protecting the survivors and their identities, while also releasing as much information about this case as possible to the public? Because some of the documents we're seeing released are just 100 pages of redaction. And obviously, I don't want the names of survivors released, but like 100 pages of redaction, that's a lot.
Okay, I feel like they picked the wrong.
Sure is, Jake.
I feel like they picked the wrong image of redactions. The reason why is they've said over and over again the masseuses were children. And I feel like this is the only one thing I think. This is not there's plenty of other images they could have used. The masseuses, it makes sense. It makes perfect sense.
I think the survivors have been really clear about what they want to see. I think they have said that they want all of the files released and they want redactions for victim identifying information. That's very different than document after document after document of full redactions.
Yes.
And they also want to see the names of people who have caused harm on both sides.
Besides Bill Clinton.
They don't care if they're names of people who represent the left, the right, the center. They don't care. For them, this is not about politics. This is about pain, and this is about people. And so it's really time to expose those who've caused tremendous harm and begin holding them accountable.
Lauren Hurst, thank you for your presence and your advocacy. Annie Farmer, to you and your sisters, I mean, sending you all the love and support from me and my staff here at CNN, as we have. Thank you, and I hope you're able to have a Merry Christmas. The co-author of legislation requiring the Epstein files release, Democratic Congressman Ro Khanna of California, says he's, quote, disappointed with what the Justice Department has made public today, which is not all of the files. His Republican counterpart, Congressman Thomas Massie, agrees, posting on X just moments ago, that the release, quote, grossly fails to comply with both the spirit and the letter of the law, unquote. Joining us now.
What's kind of, I don't know, I doubt people, is that more women aren't kind of rallying as hard as Massie and Ro Khanna. Like, it was two men that created this and brought it to the forefront. Yes, Marjorie Taylor Greene in the back, but always in the back. And it's just like, it's something that's really weird to me, that how there's no congresswomen standing side by side with Ro Khanna and Thomas Massie or co-signed with that bill. I don't get it. I don't get it.
Democrat from California and the ranking Democrat on the House Oversight Committee, Congressman Robert Garcia. So, Congressman, you posted on X saying that you and your team are doing a major review of the documents, adding, quote, it's clear that this is not a full release. What stands out to you of what's been released or what has not?
The pages.
Well, first, I think we should be very clear. This is absolutely breaking the law. I mean, they have not produced actually what they were required to do, which was all the files by today in a way that was searchable for the public. And that is not what's the case. What we have essentially is, one, we have a group of documents that have already been released to the public. And so there's could be even more than half of the documents we're reviewing right now have already been released. This includes court documents. It includes public video that's already been released to the public. It includes other civil case documents that are in there. The prison footage from Epstein, Ghislaine Maxwell's testimony, and all of that information, including about 33,000 pages that were initially released to the Oversight Committee, are all in the public record. That already does not count for new information. Then we have what appears to be new, including some photos and other documents. Those are highly redacted. And we don't really have any explanation as to why they've been redacted or what is actually there in those documents. And so we have
this
right
is
now,
not the good
what
example.
we're seeing is not transparency. This is not what the law passed. This does not meet the subpoena that the Oversight Committee has in place. What it is defying the Congress and, quite frankly, defying what the president signed into law in releasing all of these files. And so the review will continue.
Pop off.
They're now saying they're going to try to get these documents over the next few weeks. In our initial estimation, and again, this is our estimation right now, it could be that we're only getting about 10% of what the DOJ likely has. And of that 10%, 5% of that has already been released, and the other 5% is highly redacted. So we're getting very little so far, We hope to get more in the days ahead. But this is
10%. Holy shit.
Bondi, Donald Trump should release all the files today and immediately.
There's a lot that's been redacted. The White House seems to be arguing that what's been redacted is just to protect the names of the survivors.
I have not seen Ehud Barak's name once.
Look, I think we have to obviously see what the redactions actually are. At the end of the day, redacting names of survivors and victims absolutely should be the case, and I'm hopeful that they've done that in a way that's responsible. At the same time, we don't know what else is being redacted there. And so we've got to also talk to folks that we know have worked to put these documents together. We have to ensure they're not just redacting the names of those that could have been either co-conspirators or names of men who have abused women and girls. So that information is going to be critical in the days and the weeks ahead. But we also need to be clear at this moment. I've been on the phone with Jamie Raskin and the Judiciary team most of the day. And we agree, we're going to likely have to take legal action if the Trump administration continues to stonewall.
I mean, is anyone fucking surprised?
Continues to not provide us full transcripts, and clearly they don't have a real interest in transparency. The searchable bar that they've included that's supposed to be searchable for the public is not even functioning correctly. And so this is not a real release. This is continuing a cover that's been going on now for months.
Let's see what Emma Snow
Trump
says.
DOJ is doing something,
A lawyer,
but also not meeting the deadline. They have not released everything from the Epstein files, but we do have new material. And so what we're going to do here, and Nicole Wallace just walked us through why there's so much bipartisan pressure.
The fact that it's only 10%, I don't know why I thought it was more. I think I'm just, it should obviously be known. We've only seen 10%. That's fucking insane to me.
On this administration to comply. We're going to walk through what we're learning as we go together, because I got all the materials here. We got a whole team inside MS Now doing this work, going through the batches of documents fresh from just a few hours. We've been combing through it. We know Trump officials already admit that they are essentially not complying with the law. They are not releasing all the files. And the way they walked this out today was by first almost trying to lower expectations. The Deputy Attorney General blatantly saying they were not going to comply fully with the law, which fed some negative headlines. Then they released a bunch of stuff. And as I was mentioning to Nicole, we've got the 4 categories here I'm going to walk through. We have some new grand jury materials. We have some new photos. So it is important, even amidst the skepticism that is well earned for this government, to deal in the facts of what we have. And that's what we're going to do tonight. Now, there are many redactions, which raises a question.
Look at this book. This is exactly what CNN should have pulled instead of the masseuses. That one, I think, that one made sense to me. What the fuck is this? What the fuck is this? That's just insane to me.
A file that was over 90 pages that we pulled, and they've redacted.
Over 115 pages they've redacted. 115.
Redacted everything, as you see. That's going to feed more questions about the compliance, with Democrats warning tonight, and we'll hear from one shortly, that they will use all tools available to get this law 100% complied with. We are also parsing through the various different materials we've gotten. That includes court documents from cases where we didn't have all the information. That goes all the way back to 2008. There are hundreds of photos, some videos, some audio tapes, messages around voicemails that continue to add to the information about this sprawling web. So if you are someone saying tonight, did we get nothing? The answer is no. We, the American public, journalists, lawyers, those interested in this story, got new information. And if you're asking, did we get everything? No. As Nicole and I discussed, we're a long way from that. The DOJ is not being transparent. And so I'm going to show you what I mentioned. How they started the day was not, hey, we're really trying, or the way they worded it in this letter, which I'll get into, which on paper sounds good, like, hey, we're doing as much as we can. But they did something quite different to start the day. The very controversial former defense lawyer for Donald Trump, now the #2 official at DOJ, went out on Fox and said they're not releasing all the files today.
I expect that we're going to release several 100,000 documents today, and those documents will come in all different forms, photographs and other materials. And so I expect that we're going to release more documents.
The fact that he's like actively being like, yeah, we broke the fucking law. What are you gonna do about it? Like, they've broken so many fucking laws. Like, it's fair.
Over the next couple of weeks. So today, several 100,000. And then over the next couple of weeks, I expect several 100,000 more.
The law says.
Is this actually... Is this a joke? Is this actually a joke? I just don't get it. I don't get it. I don't understand.
That's what it says. President Trump signed it. And of all the agencies in government, the Justice Department knows a lot about complying with the law. Remember, Mr. Blanche, Pam Bondi, and their death.
Pam Bondi also was part. One thing I'm noticing that's not being reported, Pam Bondi literally has been in that specific Florida attorney general's right after. Like right after Acosta, Pam Bondi was in there. She fucking knows, which I think is interesting.
Deputies and prosecutors, they go after people all the time for not complying with the law. If you have an IRS deadline, you don't get to say, oh, I'm giving you some now and some later, maybe a couple 100,000 later. This goes to the question of whether this Trump administration is honest, complies with the law, or is dishonest and has a different elite standard for itself than everyone else. Here's how Blanche put it to Congress. Because of the volume of the material and the requirements that every page of every doc be reviewed for potential redactions, final stages of review of some material continue. They talked about that ongoing review being completed over the next 2 weeks. And that's what I mean about the contrast. As a letter, the reason that's written that way and that carefully, and we have it right here, is they are prepared to be taken to court. And they want to be able to try to argue to judges that they are really doing this. So in writing and to Congress and in the legal documents, this DOJ is acting like the Epstein Transparency Act is good law. They're not defying it. And they are, I think, I'm telling you our reporting, trying to set themselves up to be able to defend this if they are taken to court. At the same time, on Fox and elsewhere, they have a little more bluster sounding like they'll decide when and how material comes out. And I mentioned Congressman Ro Khanna, who led this fight on a bipartisan basis, a Democrat who recruited Republicans and then won that clash with the president himself. Here's how he's reacting.
Some of the documents, I've just been scanning them, have very heavy redactions. This including documents for which judges ordered released, like the grand jury testimony in New York. They owe the Congress and the American public an explanation for every redaction. That I didn't see published on the DOJ page, but the law is very clear that any redaction has to be justified in writing.
Fact check, true. Now, in all fairness to the government, the way the law was written, it expedited first the documents. It said release everything by tonight, and then it gives them 2 more weeks to explain the redactions. So the congressman is correct, although technically under the law, the DOJ take 2 more weeks to explain these redactions. And as I told you, some of them.
So, okay, so they can see, this is why I like Ari, because he's a lawyer. So they have an additional 2 weeks to say, this is why we redacted this. Okay.
Require explanations. As for the reference to grand jury material, that's important because that is usually secret. If you remember, say, the Bob Mueller grand jury notes, we never got them, even though they were of public interest. Here, the law requires them, and DOJ says, and I'm just sharing with you our notes as we go, that they are releasing the grand jury materials. I'll just make one more point on this. I'm reading from the letter here. And it says,
him and his fucking
they
letters.
Release the materials from Epstein's criminal case in 2018, the Maxwell case in 2019, the Epstein death probe, and the grand jury materials from the Southern District of New York. So tonight and in the days ahead, we are going to be combing through all of this. You can't instantly do hundreds of thousands. of documents, and the DOJ hasn't made it easily searchable. I'll get to that in a moment. So one big question here is, are they complying with those judicial orders to release all the secret grand jury material? And if so, that will yield a lot of important information. And if not, well, there's court cases there and judges there to make them do it. Now, I'm going to put back up the statement we started showing you. Chuck Schumer says releasing a mountain of blacked out pages violates the spirit of transparency. Dems will address and assess how the documents have been, quote, released to determine what actions must be taken.
I fucking hate him. I fucking hate him. Writes a statement, doesn't do anything. But meanwhile, Rakana's right up there. I think Rakana should be the House minority leader. And I think Chris Van Hollen should be the Senate minority leader. Not these people who have failed us.
So that is the state of play. The Democrats are not playing dead. They're not acting like, oh, thank you so much for a couple redacted pages. But there is a process aspect to this. Anyone trying to tell you tonight what's in all these documents, well, you can't believe them because no one, not even a artificial intelligence, can scan all of this instantly. We're going to be going through this with you tonight, so get comfortable, buckle up. I've got great guests. I'm starting with John Flannery, a former federal prosecutor who's been a special counsel to congressional committees. John, welcome. Before we get into all of it, my first question for you tonight, based on what we know, how would you grade the compliance? It's clearly not an F. And
I'm waiting till midnight. Maybe there's more, but I would give him an F because it strikes me that that doesn't occur unless you are having a document dump to withhold, as litigators sometimes do, to withhold the information that is called for by the statute that set this whole thing in motion. The second thing, and you've referred to it already, and so I want to underscore it, that the documents be searchable. My undergraduate degrees are physics and engineering.
Okay,
and
so
I have a master's in information science, and I just sort of watch.
I'm glad they're calling this out because these were so fucking.
This stuff pass me by because I don't think I could code anything by any language they use today. But one thing I do know, and that is if you take a picture of a document, they call it a TIFF, T-I-F-F, then you can't read that document. And there's jokes about occasional character recognition, which is that you can change that picture into words and letters, and then you can search them. And when you can search them, then you can do Boolean searches. For example, Trump and Epstein. I want all those references. Now, they have, in the DOJ dump, produced a page that says, type in what you want to search, and we will give it to you. So I did what some people would do on their home computers, a Control F. I took their little form and I typed in TRUMP and I hit the button and said, your search reveals nothing. So I thought, well, how about Epstein?
I'm going to slow you down to keep everyone with us. You're talking about something that is legally required.
Correct.
I just want to remind viewers, the Congress didn't say, hey, send this over to us, we'll review it first. Sometimes they do that. They didn't say, have the Inspector General review it and give us a summary. Because of this secrecy and the failure by parties, both parties' administrations over the history as we know it of justice, the victims, the elites, this was a different approach. It was put all the information in a searchable, downloadable format so the public can deal with an area where there's been so much skepticism and scrutiny. And so the search bar, as we've checked, it has some functionality. The New York Times reported that when it
didn't work for me.
First released, it wasn't working. 5:30 p.m. I want to show people, to your point, you put in Trump, who we know has been in there many times, and it had 2 hits total. A search for Maxwell, which should generate many hundreds of hits. There's a whole case file for her. Wasn't working well. It showed only 31. And to give viewers, I'm showing this so people can see with their own eyes. The most egregious example is if you search Epstein, you get about 224 hits out of a production that the Deputy Attorney General described as hundreds of thousands. And I could tell viewers that would be like getting 1% accuracy So John, the fact that they had the month to prepare, and as of the release, it's not working, tells you what?
It tells me that it's hard for me to believe it's an accident given the context in which anything is produced. We have the former counsel, criminal defense counsel to Mr. Trump, and he is directing this, and he is the one who is already violating, as he's telling us, this is what you're going to get. We're going to get some now and you'll get some later. And it's supposed to be searchable. And those words are exactly, it says searchable and downloadable format. And the other thing you'll notice is they put everything in stovepipes. So you have a collection. I went through them as best I could in the time allowed. They have like a series of pictures, and then they'll have a document in there that is an FBI document, and there's no way to find that because of what I've just been describing.
Okay, I am getting tired. I hope this was helpful. I hope you learned something, or you just enjoyed the stream. If you're interested, subscribe or follow, because I would really appreciate to have you back. I am trying to stream every day since my health is good, but we'll see how things are. Yeah, so hopefully I'll be back tomorrow. And I think the biggest thing is take care of yourselves, hydrate, do one self-care thing for you right now after this. And okay. I will see you later.